Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode 104. We're a podcast that talks about pop culture things, and sometimes there's whiskey. My name is John, and I am joined, as always, by Andrea.
Hey, everybody.
And returning for his second showing, Tony.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Good to be back.
Good. We had to bring the stud back on because we had our highest views ever last time you were on, so you can
You
just
lie.
sit there and stroke your ego a little bit.
John and I are just going to quit. You're just going to run the show. Surprise Tony. Have fun.
Guys,
Been
So
waiting your whole
anyways,
life for this.
it's my moment.
we're gonna have drink holidays. We're gonna cover pretty quick, and what our weeks have been like. A few news stories that will probably spur some conversation, and then we'll get into episodes 3 and 4 of Moon Knight, and we'll be spoilery about that. But that will be later in the episode, and you'll have more warning before we get there. So, but to kick things off, Andrea, drinks.
Yes. Let's see if I can remember that it's still April, y'all, and not September. So, April 19th. Yay, good start. April 19th, a couple days ago, it was Amaretto Day, if you're into that. It is a liqueur with a very specific taste. Every time I say the word amaretto, I always think of like my grandma who makes like amaretto cookies.
Oh, sure.
Like, that's like her big thing. She just like loves the taste of it. And it's not my favorite.
Really?
Like an almondy liqueur.
Yeah.
No,
Is it a nut?
It's an almondy like
it's like
flavor.
almond extract kind of thing. So if you're gonna do,
okay.
Yeah. And I just feel like you have to be very wary of having a heavy hand because it can really just like overtake as a flavor. Especially when like as a kid you're expecting to sort of like bite into a sugar cookie and suddenly you're like, there is some almonds in here. It's like that. It's just like that thing where you expect one thing and you get another and you're like, oh, that wasn't what I wanted.
But it's
even if it's
so
good,
sweet, and like I mean I know what you're saying, but
yeah, it's hard to get past that. Like, I feel like I was tricked. So,
It's like reaching for chocolate chip cookie only to find out it's oatmeal raisin.
oh, that is the worst. That is the worst.
I like oatmeal raisin. Come on now.
No, you don't.
But it's
Yeah, I do.
okay. First of all, you can like oatmeal raisin if you want to. Like, we can just shut off your screen and you can be black for the rest of the night. But no, it's like again that thing of where you're expecting one thing and then you get another, and no matter if you like it or not, there's always an element of like, oh, like
I think that's worse with drinks. Like if you just have in your mind, that you're gonna have a glass of orange juice and then it's milk or something like that, because it really throws you.
Man, that would really throw me since, I mean, I hope visually I would see that it's milk.
If you don't, maybe, you have a mug with a cup on, lid on it. I don't know. I feel like at some point,
non-transparent glass.
Yeah, I feel like at some point in my life, I've done basically this. Where
you must have, because it's a very
distinctly,
specific example.
like really early in the morning, maybe I'm at like a hotel and I think I have juice and I got milk. So I don't know. I don't remember, but
yeah, it's that expectation and disappointment. So that's how I sort of sadly associate with amaretto. The flavor is just like that expectation and disappointment.
Okay, all right.
But should you like it, 4/19, it was your day to celebrate. Another day to celebrate, closely on the heels, 4/20, April 20th. We all know this holiday, yeah.
What are you talking about?
John's like gonna play innocent real hard. 4/20, tell me more. What is this holiday? I've never heard of such a thing.
I do not partake in the devil's lettuce.
Boy.
4/20. Cheers if you know. If you don't, you're missing out.
Okay.
I am celebrating the holiday that again followed closely after on April 21st. It was National Tea Day. So I've got a cup of tea with me today that I poured a little brandy into. So that's kind of how I was feeling after this like super cold, blustery day. It was just like, sit down with a lovely cup of tea, but
Mm,
a little extra.
yeah, right.
So I am celebrating that particular day. And yesterday was another holiday to celebrate, a busy week. It was National German Beer Day, which I felt like normally I would celebrate if this was like a normal April and,
Sure.
you know,
It
could
felt
have
like
been
spring.
warm and felt like spring. But yeah, no, today was just not that because Minnesota can't make up its ever loving mind.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
but
Okay.
should you so
Nice.
choose, it was German Beer Day yesterday, April
Cool.
23rd.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm celebrating here, German Beer
Good
Day.
for you.
Like you say,
What you got?
it's not what I really wanted to do, but I think last week I had soda, so I'm like, "Oh, am I
You
gonna come
did.
back here with soda?" Um, tea, I don't
Don't you
think
come back here with your soda.
I know.
Get out.
I thought maybe, fitness trainer would be in the chat again, and I didn't wanna be caught red-handed with the bubbly the non-alcoholic bubbly again.
No,
So
John,
I
no.
yeah. I have a Beaver Island Brewing Oktoberfest Marzen lager.
There
So
you
I know
go.
it's nowhere near it's not gonna focus, I guess, but, nowhere near Oktoberfest, but
Hey,
I'd be
last
closer
week
if we
I tried
stuck
to
with the
make it
September.
September,
I know, yeah.
Yeah,
So who
Yep.
knows?
Mhm.
Do whatever
Yep.
you want. Time means nothing.
Yep. So it's my last one in the fridge. Just, finish it up.
Nice.
So, yeah. How about you, Tony?
well, as a native Minnesotan, I can definitely uh,
Minnesotan?
Minnesotan.
Minnesotan.
I can relate to the cold blusteriness, but of course I don't live there currently, so
Mhm.
I was kind of I forgot about that because it's been 80
Uh,
and sunny for the past 7 days.
Okay, now it's turn to go black. Your screen is gone. Alan, thank you.
No, I had to think hard about what I wanted to drink
Did
tonight to
you?
kind of celebrate these, and I decided
Okay.
to go with a very classic. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So got a nice Jack
Jack
on
and
the
Coke.
Rocks.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Hey, I mean, if you show up every time, you have Jack on the Rocks. It's all right.
You're
You're
following our podcast motto, so
yeah.
honestly,
Yep.
I love it.
Appreciated.
I love the
Hmm.
spirit.
Hmm. I don't
And
love the spirit, but I love your spirit.
I am here
Clever,
for the
clever.
spirit with my spirit.
All right. So let's talk weeks here. What's been happening? Tony, our guest. You been seeing any fun shows or anything since we've last seen you?
Well, it's like I kind of tell you beforehand. I was sitting there and you sent me. You're like, hey, write down some of the stuff that you've been doing this week. And I sat there and I looked at the screen for a good 10 minutes, and I'm like,
Writer's block.
couldn't think of a single thing to write. I was like, wow. So I wrote, my life is boring. But looking back, some of the things I did do, obviously I had to go on my YouTube binges, so I started catching up on some
Nice.
Critical Role podcasts. I don't know if we have any critters in the viewers tonight, but Critical Role, very great D&D podcast. I like watching those.
Awesome.
I've been
Did you watch their animated show? Right, they made
I
an animated series off of it,
did
Vox
I
Machina or
did
something like that.
Vox Machina. That was their
Legend of
original
Vox Machina?
Legend of Vox Machina. Yep.
Yeah,
Vox
yeah.
Machina was the group of characters that they had in their very first campaign. Um, so yeah,
And they
that was good.
crowdfunded it, and it hit the goal really
Mhm.
fast. And like, so did you like the show?
I did. I did. I liked it. I think it did a lot of justice. I think it was, it's
Okay.
definitely one of those ones where I mean, if you have seen the show. I mean, there's a lot of Easter eggs hidden throughout the show, but I think
Hmm.
overall it's just a really funny show to watch. The characters are kind of lovable. It is adult, which I kind of like that they did because the show
Mhm.
was always kind of like adult. They were playing to the audience being the people their same age, and as they kind of
Yeah.
got older, their audience stayed with them, and so if you have little kids, I would suggest not watching that with them.
Okay, my
Um,
mine is still too young to like understand the words.
oh,
Yeah.
good.
I'm
All right,
only I'm
good,
only
good.
gonna get away with that for like a couple months longer, I think. So I'm trying
You
to like
think
take
so?
advantage of
Yeah.
it.
So yeah, so that was good. So I did watch that. I've been kickstarting because my dad and I used to watch it when I was really young. Star Trek: The Next Generation. I mean, that was back when it was actually
Yes.
on. I think Sci-Fi, back when Sci-Fi was actually a science
Oh,
fiction
so you're
channel.
watching it
I'm
still
watching it
not
on
when it came out.
not when yeah, so I'm watching it. I'm rewatching some of them now, but just
Mhm.
like we talked about last time when I was kind of just rewatching Batman the Animated Series because I watched it when I was little. You kind of get
Mhm.
like a whole nother
Yeah.
context to those shows. I could not get over the amount of stuff that I just did not understand from Star Trek: The Next Generation when I was younger. I mean, the philosophical arguments they get into, like the really hardcore subject matter that they try to
Right.
cover in this show is astonishing. Some of the stuff they actually got away with talking about uh back in the 90s.
That's why
Isn't it amazing, like, when you think about it, like, how it didn't bother you? You, like, didn't understand that you didn't get it. You just,
Mhm.
like, watched it and, like, absorbed it, and it was great, but, like, as an adult, when I rewatch stuff that I didn't get as a kid, I'm like, "Man, that's great." I just, like, accepted it. I just was like I didn't even think about, like, there must be another meaning here or, like, why don't I get this? But as an
Mhm.
adult, I'm like, "I know I did not get that."
Oh
Yeah, that's why I think it's good that, when, people don't write down to their audience, in some fashion. It's like,
Mhm.
particularly with, I think about with cartoons, it's so tempting to, you're writing for 6-year olds or whatever. So you really write to their level, but
Mhm.
just write something good and like universally understood. Like the
Right.
plot can be simple, but there can be complexities to things in there and nuance. And if they don't get it, yeah, like they're not going to notice. It's not going to care,
Right.
and then they'll
Doesn't it
appreciate it more later. And the older people that watch it will appreciate it. Like,
Right, it doesn't phase kids to not get it.
yeah,
They don't know
you
that they
see
don't get
cool
it.
things. Oh, a
Yeah,
cool space battle thing, or whatever it is.
right, and, like,
That's wild.
whatever amount of, like, the dialogue is going on that you just get, and if you don't, you don't sit there and think, like, "I wonder if there's something else to this." You just
Yeah.
are like, "Whatever."
Hmm.
Well, that was like Hey Arnold. Did you guys ever watch Hey Arnold when you were
Yeah, for sure.
So I remember when I was probably in elementary school
Mhm,
and that show was on.
mhm,
I didn't like it because it seemed boring to me. But then when
mhm,
I remember I went back and rewatched it, or it was still on when I was in like high school, and I caught a couple episodes. I was like, wow, this show's actually good. And it was because the subject I got 100% just it didn't connect with me
yep,
because I was too young to understand like the concepts of these kids who were in middle school,
mhm,
dealing with these situations.
right,
Yep.
So,
Well,
but yeah,
cool.
so
So
doing the
yeah,
next
next
generation.
generation.
I've kind of been
great
watching
show.
The Expanse. I never watched the full series of The Expanse. I've read, I think all but like the last book of the Expanse series, and I think it's just a phenomenal science fiction series. And I've
Mhm.
been watching the show because all my buddies who read the books were like, "Oh my god, you got to watch the show! You got to watch the show." I like it. It's actually really really good.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard that.
it is. If you're into what I like to, I kind of see it as new age sci-fi
Mhm,
where it takes a lot of like fundamental sci-fi from way back in the day and kind of applies it to kind of modern day writing.
mhm,
I think it really hits that sweet spot of where it's
sure.
not so outlandish that it's kind of like a Ridley Scott sort of sort of movie. Um but it's not so old that you kind of think it's like out of touch. It's got that everything seems feasible right in there. It's really
Sure.
good.
It's a good sweet spot.
Yep.
Yeah, I've had several friends recommend The Expanse, and it's just like one of those things I keep meaning to start and haven't quite got there yet.
Yeah. And then of course I have to say I did watch the GT World Challenge series, which I'm sure nobody on
Nice.
this podcast watch. The GT4 TC and GT3 Grand Touring racing in Sonoma, California for the World Endurance Championship. So that's always it's always fun to watch those.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't say I'm familiar.
Nope.
That's all right.
That's
You
why
like
we
your
all like
racing.
different things.
Yep. Yep.
The
Absolutely.
world keeps spinning.
Exactly.
Well, cool. See, you had things you did. You had
Yeah,
things you
check you out.
watched. You know.
Yeah, had to dig deep though. Really,
Had
think.
to like really think about it.
Yeah. Like, what did I do?
All right. Well, cool. Andrea, how about you?
Well, I do want to make you feel a little better, Tony, because when you came on last time and you were talking about all the things that you were rewatching, you inspired me to go on a rewatch. And John and I talked about this. It also kind of worked out perfectly because it's this show's 25th anniversary and it's my favorite show of all time. So I started rewatching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Um, and with this talked about this with John. Woo,
Mhm.
words. Um, and I'd like already gotten up to season 3 because I was just like, God, I love the show, and it just like goes so fast for me. And then I saw John started episodes 1 and 2, so I was like, F it, I'm going back and I'm just gonna rewatch again because I can and I love this show. So I rewatched episodes 1 and 2 again.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you want to talk about like somebody spending some time rewatching? I'm like
I
rewatching my rewatch.
I just watched that show for the first time this past
Yes.
year. Nicole was like, "We should watch Buffy the Vamp," because I mean, she watched it when she was,
Yes.
you know, young, and I was like, "Yeah,
Are you
okay, I'll
saying
watch
she's
it."
old now? Tony.
John,
That's
come on, let's not beat around the bush here.
You guys, like I can't.
Andrea
I'm
is just
so
so
freaking excited.
excited.
I'm losing my shit.
It was, and we could probably do like a whole like separate show on just us talking about this, but I was
Yep.
watching it with her, and like halfway through, I think it was like probably the first season. I just looked at Nicole and I'm like, Angel's a douchebag.
Oh, those fighting
How
words.
dare you?
Oh man.
That is my man. Get out of here. Like literally from childhood, one of my first crushes.
Same with
Angel.
Nicole. Hut said the exact same thing. She's like, that was
Oh,
my first crush, and I'm like, ooh, poor judge of character.
not at all. Not at all. Where are you in the series
Um,
right now?
Okay, so we took a break.
Okay.
Once Nicole had to go back to school and everything, and so I think we were on. Oh man, so it was one of the later seasons. It was after Buffy. It was like the season they brought Buffy back from when she died, and then
wow.
they
Just
thought that.
dropping the
Spoiler.
spoilers. I mean,
I know. I was like, oh
that
shit.
is like 20 years old. Like,
I know. But I definitely was like, oh my God, he's gonna say it. He's gonna say it. And I couldn't like say
I,
anything to stop you.
I
I was
was
like,
about to
it's
say,
gonna happen.
I was about to say spoilers because it seemed like you're going to say something, but I'm like,
Yep.
it is not a new show.
It
it
is
is
not a
And
not.
new
even
show.
though
You
I'm
get.
watching it, like,
Also, you don't know what time.
Mm-hmm. You don't. You don't. I just said
well,
the season. I didn't say when. I said
Yep.
the
Renato is
season.
in the chat and he also hasn't seen it. So you just ruined it for him too. So
Oh,
let's just,
All
wow.
right, we're
Wow,
ruining it.
Tony.
I ruined it. I just ruined it. That's actually gonna like weigh heavy on me because I had the Sixth Sense was ruined for me when I was younger. I have never seen that movie. I saw it
Ooh,
once, but I
yeah.
never got to experience that movie. I got to
Yep.
watch the movie,
Same.
Right.
never
Okay.
experienced it.
Same.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
I just did that to him, and I'm
I,
gonna carry that burden
I
with me.
think I'll be okay. I think this is not the same as The Sixth Sense.
It's not quite like
Like
that big, but
the
it is
enjoyment
a
of The
big
Sixth
deal.
Sense kind of hinges on that.
Yeah, not
That
knowing the
yes,
secret.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Buffy's
nobody
a great
say it just
show.
in case. But
Exactly.
yes. Yeah.
Buffy, great show, regardless of whether you know that happens or not. The
Yes.
Sixth Sense, completely two different movies if you
Yep.
know that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree. Cause yeah, I got the same thing. I got the same experience of watching the movie and being like, yep.
hmm
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
And it
it's
would be
still
joyful.
good.
It'd be
It's still
joyful if
good,
you
but
experienced it the first time and then you went
yes.
back and
Yes.
watched it the second
But
time.
when your only experience is
Yeah.
like watching and knowing and being like, yeah, it's still a good movie, but there's just something about like having that experience.
hmm hmm
Hmm. Well,
I
But
also
okay.
had
okay.
the fourth, fifth, no, the sixth Harry Potter book was ruined for me, so
Oh
I never got to experience that one
no.
either. And
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
that was the first time I was this close to decking the kid that said it to me too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He did
that's
it on
legit.
purpose,
They do it.
totally as a
That
killer.
happened to my
Yeah.
sister too. It was on purpose, and it just
Oh,
like,
it's mean.
mhm.
Somebody has no joy in their life. Like, how could
Yep.
you do that to
I
somebody?
mean, see, this is before people really were like internet trolls, though. These people became internet trolls.
I
Mhm.
You
guess,
know,
yeah.
they're like, oh, I got
It's
to go
just
online now to like satisfy my, feel
yeah.
important and get a reaction out of people.
Oh, that is the worst. Like the purposeful too. That's just like, oh, that's so mean and
Yeah.
petty.
Hmm.
Doing it on
Gross. Like the
accident? Mm.
yeah, like I spoiled something, back when The Walking Dead was like really, really huge. I spoiled something for somebody and it was an honest mistake and like it was days after like the episode aired. So I really thought like I was safe in saying it because they were a big, Walking Dead fan and I ruined it and I felt terrible. I felt awful. But like I didn't go there being like, "Ha ha ha, gonna bust open the door and tell you all about like who lives and dies in this episode." But
That was, when we were I was at a friend's house after Endgame came out,
mm,
and he thought that everyone in at the party had seen Endgame,
ooh,
and he's like, "Yeah, it's just like when," and then he said it, and this one dude and his wife in the back said, "Yeah, thanks, man. We're actually
oh
gonna see it tomorrow." And I'm
no,
like, "That's 10 years. That's 10 years of
just like
cinematic."
evaporated.
God.
Oh, oh God, oh that
Yeah.
hurts.
Well, if you remember, friend of ours did something like that to Alan at your place.
At my place?
Yeah.
Oh
Um,
no, what is
it was
this?
Wes. It was Wes. He
What did
did
what
that.
do?
He Alan hadn't seen, I think, I don't know if it was Endgame or if it was Infinity War, one of those two yet. And, room full of people.
Uh,
So Alan's typing. I'll see what he
Yes,
if he
yes, what he
remembers
said.
this and stuff.
No, it was Infinity
Infinity
War.
War. Okay. So yeah, I remember this.
oh,
Oh man.
I don't remember this at all.
I'm extra cautious
which
about it now. Like I really try to ask, hey, somebody seen this? I know a lot of people are like,
yeah.
oh, we're gonna talk quiet, or we weren't gonna say spoilers, but sometimes you say stuff that,
Mhm.
is a
Ooh,
spoiler to someone and not a spoiler to others. And it's tough. So
ouch.
I usually, though,
Ouch.
going back on the original point, I think
Yes.
you get 15 to 20 years. If it's 15 years to 20 years past the air date of the episode, the movie, the show, the series ended, right?
Mhm.
Kind of all bets are off. You had
I think
15 to
even 10 I
20
think even
years.
10 years. I think even 10
Yeah.
years,
Maybe 10 years.
but I still like if I'm talking in depth with, a group, I still will probably check, you know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
are you interested in watching this at all? Like, kind of thing.
Well,
But
especially if it's like one of those like seminal shows, you know what I mean? Like something like big, like cultural touchstone kind of,
yeah.
like there are people who just are like I keep meaning to get around to it or whatever. So yeah, so if you're going to go like deep dive into something or reveal like
But
we even now we're just like don't ruin the sixth sense for somebody out there. Like it's been
mhm.
a really
Yes.
long time. But we're like don't do it because it's so important to like it's so pivotal to the movie that if you ruin it like it's
That's true.
ruined.
And
I
that's kind of an iconic
yeah.
movie, too.
That's what
See,
I mean. Like I would try
mhm.
not to spoil something like that level of iconic for somebody.
Renato's way less generous here. He says he's thinking like 1 year. Yeah, 1 year. Well,
That's
here,
cutthroat.
there's two ways. I mean, one is like, it, if you're waiting that long, do you really have any intention? Like, okay, I keep putting off, I keep meaning to, but clearly it's not that important to you. Watch it. If it's several years gone by. But at the same time, something is always new to someone else. Like we were alive
Yeah,
and went to the Sixth Sense
that's
when it
true.
came out. So we had all this time, but someone else is just 14 now, maybe
Mhm.
has never heard of the Sixth Sense.
Discovering.
Right. They find this movie or whatever
Mhm.
that someone says they should watch, and you know, now it's
Right,
time. Like,
we're a generation that got to watch, like, older stuff without it getting spoiled, you know what I mean? Like, stuff that
mhm.
wasn't, like, directly of our time. but still like classics,
Hmm.
and we didn't get things like ruined for us. So yeah, so it's hard, like if someone's experiencing it for the first time, I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Renal says he's watching the Cowboy Bebop anime for the first time now.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know, you just like
to have that
you just hear
experience
about
again.
it. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah, but
I did it just recently, even though like I've been, a fan of anime for a long time now. Obviously, not as quite as long as somebody else, but it was just one of those like seminal works that I knew I had to get around to, but it was really hard to get it started because it was just like it's so pivotal. Like I
mhm.
don't know, there's so much pressure to watching it, it feels like.
It's
Well, and
not a show and it's emotion. It's like Top Gun. Remember, Top Gun with
Yes.
Tom Cruise? That's not a movie. That's an emotion.
I feel that.
wow. I mean, I don't know if I watched that movie all the way through. It was kind of
Shut your
Top Gun?
yeah,
face.
yeah. And I like
Oh,
Tom Cruise. I
Wow.
like Val Kilmer.
Oh, that
But
is that is peak right there for the both of them.
yeah,
I'm
well,
literally gonna cosplay for Maverick.
Nice. Nice.
okay. I'll be Iceman. That's, sounds good.
Oh. Oh, no,
Hey,
yes.
Yeah, no, you're thinking
I
of
was thinking of
Goose.
Goose.
We might have
yeah,
just given away something there too
yeah.
for
You just
anybody out there.
Don't worry, I'm past the
I
20-year mark. We're good.
Right.
yeah
Right, we passed our own litmus test. It's good. It's fine.
yeah yeah.
All
All
right,
right.
I will try not to derail us with the rest of what I've been doing with my week.
No,
But I am so pumped, Tony, that you've been watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's like, so good. Um, yeah, so other things I've been watching that are newer, the new season of Selling Sunset, which is like soapy, trashy nonsense, just came out on Netflix. I love it so much. It's basically like if the Real Housewives decided to be in their 20s and 30s and sell real estate. That's what it is.
okay,
It's
okay.
literally that. It's trashy horribleness, and I love every overproduced second of it. So
All right.
if you're into that, season 5 just dropped on Netflix.
Wow, 5.
Um, yeah, they're pretty short. Like they're just like 8-10 episodes per season.
Sure.
And then I watched more of Welcome to the Ballroom. I of course watched Moon Knight, which we'll be talking about later. And then I love that we're now like putting our webtoon reading up here. So I've been actually on Webtoon for quite a while, but it's just like one of those things like you do, but you don't know how many people know about it. So
Mhm.
um I decided to get caught up. I was really behind on a series I had started a long time ago called True Beauty, which is going to be turned into a K drama. I think releasing next year, possibly. Um,
Okay.
and then Noblesse, which is already an anime that I happened to catch. I can't remember on which streaming service, but I saw that it was already out. So I was like, oh, well,
Mhm.
why don't I just go back and read the webtoon that started it and then watch the show? So
Yeah,
that's what I've been doing.
cool. Yeah, yeah, it's good you got the webtoons in there and stuff, like, because 'cause we've been talking now, I wanna
Hmm.
bring attention to it,
Yeah.
to both manga and the webtoon stuff, because it's, as we talked, I think last week or whatever, this
Hmm.
is the this is more the path that Marvel and DC should be on. It's the letting people go free, these unique stories, they get picked up, so there's a lot there. And the
Hmm.
Noble S one, I've seen that, like you say, both in anime form, I've seen that around, and I've
Yep.
also seen it recommended as something to
Hmm.
read. So yeah, I've heard that's a good one.
Hmm.
I started King of the East and the World After the Fall on there. Just a
Nice.
little bit of them. The art of King of the East is really cool. It's a lot. It's kind of like
Okay.
somewhere between Dragon Ball and I don't know, Inuyasha maybe or something in terms of art
Ooh,
style.
Okay.
that's an interesting
So
blend.
yeah, it feels more, which I think is kind of neat. It's like we're getting other cultures that are taking sort of the Japanese style, but maybe something that we haven't seen in a while. Like you'll see the anime and manga really goes in trends where a lot of stuff kind of can look the same and it sort of evolves over time. And so some of those things get left behind, styles of the past. And so now when you have different people and different cultures kind of doing their own take on it, we can maybe get some of those older styles back.
Sure.
Brian and
So
I talked specifically about that because we were talking about different anime shows that we kind of liked and watched, and like there's not a lot of new stuff that I watch. Obviously, my life's boring, so I don't watch a lot of new anything. But we're talking about these animation styles, and I brought up that I really like that, Cowboy Bebop, Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha, Dragon
Mhm.
Balls, like that really old, 80s, late 80s Gundam from like 82, or
Yeah.
86 or whatever it was.
mhm.
That style of animation, because I felt it was like very, very purposeful, very, everything was drawn, was hand drawn, it looked gorgeous, and I love that kind of style.
Sure.
Studio Ghibli, or Ghibli, or Ghibli, however you pronounce it, really amazing art style.
Well, and I think Ghibli is more imitated now than
Yeah.
stuff from like the 80s and early 90s. It's harder to find that kind of art style. I think animation has improved in series like dramatically. Or,
Mhm.
from the 70s, 80s, 90s till today now, animation in your everyday anime is head and shoulders above, the production values there. But art style is definitely evolved. I've seen some people put together graphs before and like what your typical anime girl looked like in different decades, because it does like mold, so that's why when something comes around like Toilet Bound Hanako-kun and this something called the King of whatever another. They're very, very unique art styles, and
Mhm.
so it's fun to see something that's breaks the mold.
Yeah,
But
I'm just
you
about to
laugh
get a
at
maybe
Toilet Bound, but it is it's
I'm
not.
sorry.
It's
I was just
the
so impressed you
name.
said that. You just said it so straight. You were just like, yeah, obviously, just so offhand, like Toilet Bound Hanako-kun.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I mean,
Like even
if
even
I
as mature as I am with a child and whatnot, it still just makes me giggle a little
it's
bit.
like that anime, Stinky Palapu. Great, it's great.
yeah,
Very nonchalant, easy breezy,
Toilet
Tony.
Bound Hanako-kun is based off of Japanese yokai, and you would ask to talk to him, and they might grant a wish. And it's just think of like a moaning myrtle
Mhm.
stuck in the restroom. It's like
But she grants wishes.
right, you know. So it's that kind of thing. It has nothing to do with needing to go to the restroom. Like,
Yeah, I remember you explaining, like,
yeah,
when you first brought it up, because you were like, wait, like, let me explain.
hmm hmm yeah. So, um, well, yeah, I'm reading a couple webtoons, reading a few other things of manga. I
Mhm.
wanted to like point out too. I was looking. I was going to almost add this as a news story. I'll cover it here. That
Mm.
I was looking through the Apple bookstore lists
Mhm.
of comics and graphic novels. They give the top 100 sold things. You want to know like how many things on that list are not manga? So it's all
5.
graphic novels and manga. So it's all of it.
All of it? Literally all of it?
Yeah, well, I mean, any graphic novel you would buy, you'd be able to buy on the
Oof.
App Store, on the iTunes bookstore, and graphic and manga.
Mhm.
There's like 3 things that
Okay,
are
I was
not
close. I
manga.
said
Yeah.
5, so
Mhm.
I was
Yeah.
close.
Mhm. So it's an impressive landslide. There is
Yeah.
one Moon Knight thing on there.
Ooh.
So look at
Boy,
that.
I wonder why that's,
I know, but shouldn't it should be filling that list. Moon Knight, Marvel's big thing.
I
Why
know,
aren't,
I know.
one thing
But at least it's
anyways.
on there.
Yeah, you have to go down to like 47, I think, and it's
Yeah,
Moon Knight.
yeah.
So My Dress Up Darling, I finished that now.
Nice.
Done with that
I gotta
series,
catch
watched
up
that
to you
in
on that.
English. Yeah, it was a sweet ending. So
Okay.
Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. Finished that one now as well. That was a 13 episode show. I think it could have been a little bit
Tony's
shorter,
giggling again.
but again,
He just
it's a
rattles it off. It's
I
so
know.
eloquent the way he just.
I know.
it's I'll probably talk about both these shows some morning on a like a
Mm-hmm.
anime special thing or something like that, but it was good. And yep, Buffy 1 and 2. I texted
Yes.
you as I was watching those. It's pretty funny, but but enjoyable. It's a blast from the past.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit to get over, especially like it's a bit of a shock seeing it now for the first time. It takes a little bit to get
Mhm.
over like 90s era production levels.
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
The
you do
music.
love the music.
Yes.
I definitely was one of those like hardcore power nerds that had like Buffy the Vampire Slayer soundtrack CDs. Got like my watcher's guides back on the old
Wow,
bookshelf over there.
nice.
For
It's
real,
like
man.
the comment I made when I watched the very first episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I looked over at Nicole and I'm like, this is like looking at like an advertisement for Hot Topic.
Yes,
It's like that. That is what Hot Topic was 15 years ago.
Mhm.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's see. The big rage right now, all the rage in
Mm,
anime is Spy Family. So new
mhm.
episode every week. Episode 3 came out this weekend. Still very good, very fun. Well
When you
animated.
when you said all the rage, I was expecting you to seek into watching the Northman.
Okay, yeah. Um, there's definitely some rage in the Northmen.
I mean, if you look at the
Um,
trailer, that's basically what it is.
yeah, I uploaded a little short with a quick review of it. Um, but yeah, it's worth seeing, I would say.
Excellent.
Um, if you like this director's other stuff, you can feel this similar kind of tone, but it's a more it's a less, I don't know. The Witch is a very slow burn, and The Lighthouse is very trippy. Kind
Mhm.
of, you're a little it's really in your head. This is little. This is more obvious. The plot's more straightforward, but it's really cool. It's based on a Nordic tale that inspired Shakespeare's. Um, we just watched it. Um,
Macbeth?
Macbeth. Yes. And so yeah, it's a very classic tale done really well. The music's great. I love all the Viking stuff. So, but very graphic, very gory,
Mhm.
and some of that. So
Nice.
yeah,
Sounds like my kind of movie.
yeah, you'll like it for sure. Yeah, that's been my week. All kinds of things. News,
Mhm.
news. We have
Some
a
decent stories this
variety.
week.
There was some good
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff up there.
So I didn't really order this. We'll see how we transition between each
Mhm.
one. But Thor is coming out sooner than we think. Thor: Love and
Yes.
Thunder. They actually dropped a trailer for it now, so that's
Mhm.
out in the wild. Did both of you get to see it?
I
Yes.
did. Yeah.
And
Okay, for the first like 2 seconds, I wasn't sure that I was watching the trailer or if I was watching some sort of like inspirational commercial. Like when he was like running and I was just like, "Oh my god, it's an ad," or like, you know what I mean? I was like, "Oh, I'll just like wait for the trailer to start," and then suddenly like Thor was running and I was like, "Oh shit, it is starting. Okay, all right." So this has definitely got that like different feel. And it's definitely like, a it's I say different feel, but it's definitely a continuation of like Ragnarok. Like
right,
Taika Waititi's definitely like got a style that he brings that you can feel, but it's definitely not like what we think of as typical Marvel or traditional Marvel,
sure,
which I appreciate. But yeah,
yeah,
I overall enjoyed the trailer.
okay,
Didn't tell me a whole lot of what was going on, but it was fun.
sure,
I think that's to its benefit, though. I mean, more I like trailers that leave you guessing, like, okay, I kind of want to see it because how are all these things interrelated? Like,
Right.
how are all these scenes gonna
What
make
is
a movie? I need to see
what is
that.
this like point here? What is like the story?
Or you could
Because
do like what DC does, where it's just, hey, this is literally a 30-second synopsis of the entire movie. You don't need to go see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like having a little bit of mystery, yeah, for sure.
hmm
Sometimes trailers show way too much, so I'm fine
I
with that. I'm surprised it took so long to get a trailer, but, you know.
I'm not.
I'm surprised that um I am and I'm not. I mean, I'm surprised that it took so long to get a trailer like this, but I'm sure that in the sense of like not really telling us anything about the movie, you'd think they would have had this early on in shooting, like they would have had enough to piece this together. But also, I feel like I really haven't heard that much about Thor: Love and Thunder. Like it's
No.
been quiet,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden it's like surprise, we're back.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
I
go
told
ahead.
my friend when I watched, because he sent it to me in a text message, and I, I would say Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy are probably the last collection of characters that I care about
Mm.
from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I say this because
So
I kind
Doctor
of
Strange is a no for you.
no. Yeah, I mean, sorry, I should rephrase it. Yes, Doctor Strange is. I want to see Doctor Strange. I kind of hoping, but
Okay.
what I'm hoping comes from this. I think we kind of touched on this last time. Maybe I don't know. I can't remember. I'm getting a little marveled out
hmm
to
Yeah, we
where
definitely talked about, yeah.
Yeah.
you know
We talked about
I'm
how the decade-long buildup and everything is, and, maybe it's kind of a cathartic, like, "Oh, we're done," like, breath out, there it was, ah.
hmm
yeah, and it's all right.
Mhm.
I did it. This was a huge thing for me, and I like Chris Hemsworth Thor, especially because Chris Hemsworth kind of came in and said that he wanted Thor to be more relatable. Because if you watch the very first Thor movie and then you watch Ragnarok, that's like two completely different characters,
Completely
and
different, yes.
Absolutely.
it's because he wanted to change it because that Thor was not relatable. He was very rigid. He was very uptight. Kind of wasn't a very interesting character, and Chris took it and made it his own, and that's kind of what made Thor so lovable in a lot of the movies that progressed beyond that, because he kind of put this character together, this kind of interesting, funny, relatable, hot guy it was it was just it's a good character, and I'm glad he's getting his movie, but I don't want to sound mean, but I'm kind of hoping this is the last of this movie series, because I don't want
I
this to turn into something that they keep dragging out and out and out
sure.
until should have died a long time ago type of thing.
I think this is his. I don't know that it's Thor's.
Interesting. Okay.
If
Okay.
I mean, for those who have seen the trailer and sort of get a sneak peek about what may be happening to
Well,
Thor.
I would say it's not I mean, if this is a secret to anyone, I mean,
Oh.
the
Yeah. Okay.
unveiling,
You get
at
my drift now.
Yeah.
at
I'm
the
picking up what you're laying
Comic-Con,
down. Yeah.
Thank
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Renato, tell me if you know what we're talking about, because I feel like anyone that is
We've
paying
spoiled so
attention to
many
this.
things for him. He's probably like, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
watch this.
I just it's very
Tony just
clear
blurts it out. Well, I've already done one tonight.
they're just not being secretive about it. So, like, it's
Mhm.
out there. It's not like even leaks or anything like that. They had Natalie Portman come on stage in front of thousands of people in the world and hold
Yes.
Mjolnir the hammer. So, like, it's
Oh,
not.
okay. Well,
This
but
is not
that's different though. That's a new character, so they can
So that's what I'm
do.
saying. Like, I think this is Chris Hemsworth, his last ride, but I don't know that it's Thor's last
Yeah,
ride.
and hopefully they do well with it. Natalie Portman. By the way, talk about like somebody who is super interesting. Natalie Portman, um, classically trained. I think she's got a PhD if I'm not mistaken.
I think you
I
may be
I think
correct.
she's been to plenty of school, yeah.
Yeah, and she does a bunch of different stuff.
Mhm.
Um,
I mean, the shit in your shoe skit was the best one.
Oh,
That's the best thing
oh,
she's done.
yeah. Oh, hands down, that was Emmy, Oscar, Academy Award right
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
But it's this idea, like you have Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I'm hoping is going to be as good as, kind of keeps that same
Mhm.
energy of the other ones. But this is that thing where it's like, okay, you can't keep relying on the
Right.
pillars you built the last 12, 13 years to try to get
Right.
people interested in Marvel, cuz
If it's a new phase, it's a new phase.
yeah,
Like, commit.
cut it and go. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, unlike on a larger Marvel scale talk and stuff, I feel like basically we could talk about it every week, I suppose. I had attempts to not regurgitate my continual thoughts,
mm,
ad nauseum. But the eh, I think it goes back to my critique of Loki, the TV show. Loki was for me a really fun show, but it shouldn't have been a Loki show. It's not very Loki at all. The character is not particularly Loki. I mean, it's not recognizable to me as Loki. Um, Thor is kind of the same thing. Like, yeah, he's kind of boring, maybe in the first one or something like that. But that's why he's a good ensemble character because he's maybe doesn't isn't the character to stand on his own. His what happened to his teammates, from
Ugh,
Asgard.
still bitter about that.
Right. That is what makes those movies to possibly work. You have the team, and so then when he's on the Avengers, the same thing. So his shtick was, well, I am a very old being, but I am very unfamiliar with the ways of Earth. So that's my comedy thing.
Mhm.
Another for the drinks, classic. So then, yeah, this reinvention, that's fine, but it's not really Thor. It's not look like Thor. Is not the Thor. It's not the Thor character. So Thor Ragnarok is a very entertaining movie. I think it's very entertaining, but it's not really Thor. And so I think we're having it's gonna be the same thing with this. Taika Waititi puts together some good films for sure, and he has a really good sense of humor,
I
I
love his
think.
sense of humor.
So I think the movie is probably gonna be fun, but it's not gonna be Thor. So it'd be better if it was just its own thing. And so it's again like we're having Marvel shackle themselves to these characters when they could just
Sure.
move on, come up with new things. Like, do we have to have when it says Marvel banners? Does it have to be something that's pre-existing? If you want to tell your own thing, just tell your own thing. Just do it. So that's where I fall on this. I
Mm,
think it's going to be
I see.
entertaining. I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to look like Thor at all, or be anything that is recognizable as Thor to anyone that's been a fan of Thor over the last 30 years. It'll be recognizable to people that saw Infinity War, Endgame, and
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok. You know,
Mhm.
so
I'm excited for it though. I mean, I don't want like my like curmudgeony, comments to overshadow the fact that I'm gonna go see it because
sure.
Mhm.
I like the director's work. I like those cast of characters. I like those actors and actresses. I want to
Mhm.
support that. I'm gonna go see it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I have my own issues with Thor, chiefly being like, where did all his friends go? And he keeps getting new friends, and it bothers me.
Yeah.
Like, I have nothing against, like, pretty much any of the movies. I loved Kenneth Branagh's version, like, the first Thor, because it was very, like, Shakespearean. That's what I'm about. I love Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
And, I mean, at the end of the day, it wasn't the most exciting movie, but it was a well put together movie. Like, Dark World, I think we can all just sort of, like, set aside and be like, "I don't even know what that was." That wasn't even, like, Thor versus Taika Waititi's Thor. It was just like, that was bad. That was bad news. But the worst of it was, now he keeps like losing all of like his crew from Asgard, and he keeps replacing them. Like, in Ragnarok, he replaces them with Hulk and Valkyrie, and then now we're getting him replacing his crew with Guardians of the Galaxy. And I just sort of miss the original camaraderie of that group, the history, the stories that could have been told with that group. They were fun. It was a great cast, and it just felt like a wasted opportunity to like get Thor tied into the Avengers in some way, or like keep utilizing other Avengers casts in different ways. Where you're like, you don't have to do this. Like, people can have their own solo movies, and it's fine to not have like, ooh, guest appearance by one of the
Yeah.
Avengers. Like, who is it going to be? Didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So,
It was I think a wasted, that whole mythology and the whole world is kind of wasted, in my opinion. They could have
mhm,
spent more time there. They could have taken the other characters more seriously.
mhm.
Um, I mean, Loki went Loki in there went from someone to a god or demigod to be feared to kind of the butt of the joke.
Yeah,
It's
which
like
is disappointing.
as soon as Hulk smashed him around in the Avengers
Yep.
movie, and people got a kick out of it, as more and more Loki had to become the butt of the joke.
Well, he had to be comic relief, and and I
Mhm.
mean, it makes sense in a fashion because he's a trickster, so there was always gonna be some humor associated with him there, and especially when things didn't work out, but it didn't need to be so constant. Like,
Mhm.
he still could have been, like
He's supposed to be cunning,
right, he's supposed to,
cunning and
like, be
clever, not
smart and,
a
like
doofus.
yeah. Yeah, exactly, not a doofus, like, some of his plans could have worked out, and it could have been interesting.
Even
And they
Thor. How
they
long
had
has Thor
those.
been alive?
Hmm, sorry,
Hmm?
what did you say, Tony?
Yeah, go
Oh, I
ahead.
didn't. I'm sorry. I was like, they had moments of him being cunning, and they had moments of him where you saw the true Loki character come through.
Mhm.
But to your point, I'd like to have saw more of those.
Yeah.
Mhm. You
Yeah,
know
like, I mean, obviously, I thought I mean, I think the one interesting spot of Dark World is the fact that, like, spoilers, Loki does, have a plan work out, and he gets rid of Thor, and he gets to be king of Asgard. I mean, he has to impersonate his dad to do it, but it's a
right.
really cunning scheme that works out. And
Yep.
then in Ragnarok, it's like this big joke that, like, he's like lounging around being fed grapes, and he's kind of like a doofus, like bumbling around, and Thor figures it out in like half a second.
Yep.
I don't know. Could have been more interesting for longer.
I I did think Anthony Hopkins playing that part was actually pretty funny.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
sure. Yeah.
Him trying to like do some mannerisms and just like
Oh
I
shit.
mean, the Matt Damon playing Loki in the play that Anthony Hopkins is watching. Like, I mean, so many good things abound in that scene, but it just could have been more interesting to like have Thor maybe not figure it out that particular second.
Mhm.
Or something else, or have he had something else up his sleeve. I don't know. Just contingency plans.
Yep.
Can we also talk like how funny it is when Matt Damon does weird random cameos?
I
Yeah.
know. That's one of my favorites. Just oh, so good. The
Well,
commitment on his part.
I'm glad, we got the trailer finally. I'm
Yeah,
happy for those that are
should be
still head over
entertaining.
heels about all the Marvel stuff. For me, when it's kind of a hot mess, we're gonna go from that to another hot mess, but one in real life. Um, and on the
Also kind
other
of
side of
related.
the comic
Yeah.
coin, Ezra Miller. So Ezra Miller, the star of Flash, or the actor portraying Flash, we talked about him a couple weeks ago,
Mhm.
um, because law trouble with the
Yes.
law,
Yes.
going into assaulting someone, singing karaoke,
Mhm.
getting thrown out. Then
Mhm.
going into someone's place that he'd been, I think, staying with or whatever, shouting at them, saying, "I'm going to murder you, or I'm going to bury you and your slut wife," stealing of
God.
passports
Yeah.
and money and stuff. Um, and now he was at a party and people told him to leave. He didn't want to and threw a chair at someone, hitting her in the head, leaving a gash in her forehead.
Mhm.
So he's been like the police have been called in regards to Ezra Miller, like multiple times within a 3-week span here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he's like just on the loose, and he just keeps getting out right away. I don't know if he's actually seen the inside of a jail cell yet or not. Just like he's just like does the paperwork, and before they're done with it, he's out.
It's
So
because he throws chairs at them all.
so the
They're
two
all
things,
friends now. Hey
yeah,
guys,
the
what's
couple things with
up?
this, obviously, I mean, if you have any thoughts, we have all kinds of celebrity craziness from slaps at the Oscars to this to something we're going to talk about in a little bit, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, it, what do you think there? And then also, what is DC going to do with them? What is Warner
Yeah.
Brothers going to do with them?
So I know, on the heels of these stories, there have been several stories, of course, about DC having several emergency meetings about what to do. Nothing official has come of these meetings, which I'm kind of disappointed about. Like, how hard is it to make up your mind after this, like, you know, multiple arrest binge in the course of like 2 weeks? Like, drop Ezra or don't. I mean, that's literally the decision you're facing, and this is either your limit or it isn't, and you have to live with the fact that Ezra could continue to be displaying this kind of behavior and getting in this kind of trouble because clearly they haven't been phased by this, you know?
Well, without any actual punishment, you're not going to be.
Exactly. So you have to be aware that if you're deciding to continue, a relationship with Ezra Miller, this kind of thing will be happening on the regular. I imagine. There's no consequence, so why would they stop?
Mhm. What do
Well,
you? What's the studio do, Tony? What do they do?
well, I think it's a there's two sides to this, right? I mean, there's two sides to every story, but there's definitely two sides to this. I think one side of this is the glaring toxicity of life in Hollywood, right? I mean, these are you look at people who have no ramifications from their actions, or
Sure.
they're told that, and they're kind of kept in this bubble of, yes, everything you do is great, and you're always going to be great, so go do whatever you want to do. And it kind of leads to this you know continued, like you were saying, this is not going to stop, this behavior. This is not going to stop at all. And these are obviously, there are chemicals involved in these situations that are probably leading to these
What?
outcomes. Um, but on the other hand, the studios, like you said, you got to make the decision. Listen, this is a product of the environment that you put this person in. So,
Mhm.
one, you need to make a decision of whether or not you're actually going to cut this person out, and then
Mhm.
two, if it happens with another person, something else has got to change here. It's either, let's look into, what are we, what type of people are we hiring? Are we providing an environment that feeds this type of
Right.
personality, this type of issue? I think it's kind of, like I said, multiple different sides here. But
Mhm.
obviously, something's got to be done. I think the studio
Mhm.
has to say something or do something, whether they
Yeah,
pull him out, put him in probation, do whatever.
it's just looking awkward that they haven't. Like, I'm not saying I know what the decision is, but you have to say something.
Well, people get fired for less. I've seen other Marvel and DC and Disney actors and actresses get let go for
For way
less than
less.
this.
Way less. I agree.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound mean, but it's the Flash.
But they're kind of hinging a lot on this potentially. I think that's where the dilemma, or one of the aspects of the dilemma comes in, because yeah, if you just like, well, cut them out, that's it. Then what happens to this movie that's coming up? That's supposed to be a multiverse thing. Shows other Flashes. We have Michael Keaton coming back. Like this
Grab
movie
another
is,
Flash.
but
You got to
I
do what
mean,
the studio did with Back to the Future Part 2, when what's his face, Marty's dad wouldn't
Mm.
come back to do the filming for the second movie, so they just took an actor that looked like him and turned him upside down and had him float with back problems through the scene. Remember that in Back to the
no, I
Future
Yes.
don't.
Part 2?
Yes.
Funny, but it's the
It's
movie's
not
like done.
impossible.
You know, I mean,
Well,
I know they delayed it and there's
they
probably
can't do anything
reshoots.
about that, sure, but they can do anything they want to about future movies.
Yeah, but see what how does that go then? You can't be like, okay, Ezra Miller's gone. By the way, in 6 months, come see the Flash as we like introduce the multiverse, and they can, but they'll lose so much money doing that.
But
Like,
what are they gonna will they lose money by people being I mean, it's the gamble. Like you could lose money
yeah,
by people being disgusted that they've continued their
yeah.
relationship with this kind of person and be like, I'm not going to see that. Or I mean, they could lose money by just pulling everything, or they could lose money by, pulling their relationship with Ezra Miller but still releasing it sucks all ways. What sucks the least?
Yeah. Yeah.
It, I would actually prefer if they were that worried about it. I would prefer that the studio come out and say Ezra has had some issues. We're pulling him into meetings to kind of discuss, how we can get through this together. What does he need to,
Mhm.
deal with some of this? I mean, at least it shows that they're being proactive at like
Right,
addressing
try.
that they know it. Yeah,
Try.
give a crap.
Right, exactly. Like,
Yeah, the
yeah,
silence is strange.
the silence is deafening. It's just, take a stand, whatever it might be, or, just show that you tried. I mean,
Well,
maybe they're reaching out and Ezra's not receptive and
True. Yeah.
fine, but at least say that then.
Hmm.
Say you tried. Then it really is on them.
Yeah.
And
Put the
Ezra
onus back
can
on
be
Ezra.
right, exactly. And then, you have some maybe things to say about this is why we severed our relationship.
so
We
the other
tried.
other aspect is like Tony, you said you had to look up who this was. You
Mhm.
forgot like who Ezra Miller is. So how many people really know who Ezra Miller is and really know about these stories? Like, will this actually affect? I understand in the Twitter sphere and like if you read this tabloids and stuff like that, like there is you'll the news will be there. It's
Mhm.
but your average moviegoer, like I don't know, ask your family members, hey, there's a Flash movie going to be coming out. Do you know who the Flash is? Have you heard about the actor in real life? I bet a lot of people have no idea. So I
Possibly.
understand from a perspective of like people that are aware, hey, Warner, why aren't you saying something? But on the other hand, I can see them being like, most people have no idea about this. Why should we say anything until we have something figured out? Because like,
Yeah,
we don't want to
I
have this
just
person on the press trail,
yeah. I
and
just even feel like saying like we're trying to figure some stuff out.
mhm,
Like it's
Well, if you
totally understandable.
yeah,
Like any one of us in this situation, we each of us have put forth like ideas, but we have no idea what's the right decision.
yeah.
But even if they just said, "We're trying to figure this out. This is a surprise. It's awful what's happened. Please bear with us as we take a minute to think about it."
Mhm.
How hard
what
is
about
that?
the other side of it though too, where let's say they don't address this and they have Ezra come back and they want to do another movie with Gal Gadot or Henry Cavill or uh, Ben Affleck, right? And they want to introduce the Flash and Batman or something like and they this behavior continues or gets worse, and all
Right.
of a sudden you're left with those three A-list actors and actresses being like, no,
I don't
I
want
don't
to
want to,
work with
I don't
Ezra.
want to work
Yeah.
with Ezra, and then Ezra. I mean, obviously that when that point happens, you kind of see. I think you're going to see what happens to every star that gets into the position where no one wants to work with them. They implode, and it
Mhm.
gets 10 to 100 times worse.
Worse. Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think the big question it comes down to what are they gonna do with the upcoming film? That's
Mhm.
the biggest conundrum. What are you gonna do with that? If it's not like it was just in pre-production.
Yeah, I was just
Going
gonna say
forward, I feel
the
like
Fantastic
the
Beasts got away with it because it was like, whoop, it's already here.
yep,
Movie's
yep,
already basically out, so can't really pull it.
yep.
Are you talking about the second one?
Third one.
Third one. Wait, what issue with the third?
Well,
No, the
Ezra
third
Miller's in it.
Fantastic yeah,
He's a
he's the
star in
third
those
Oh,
Fantastic
movies.
Beast.
God,
And it was
my mind went
basically
to the
like
Johnny Depp
oh, so sorry. Well, I mean,
thing.
We're gonna
that
get
too.
there. Yeah.
We'll get
Yeah,
there,
that's what
yeah.
I was like, wow, okay.
But yeah, so they released that movie because of course, like, it was basically in the middle of all of this, and it was just like, "Well, this is way too late to not release this movie. It's already here."
Yep.
So,
Yep. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. On that note, so
we probably just yeah,
yeah.
talk about
Sorry,
that.
So
forced
I
transition
feel
there.
like normally we don't talk all that much about celebrity stuff on here, but it's just recently, again, with the Oscar thing, and then when
Mhm.
it comes to celebrity deaths, and now this just really been out there.
Mhm.
And then, of course, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial has been going on. There was
Mhm.
I don't know all the details, but there was a trial in the UK, I believe, and now there's a defamation suit here in the States, and the trial's been live on online. You can watch it. I've watched more of it than I should have. I guess I didn't put that in my weekly rundown, but that's in there too. So, have you guys
C-SPAN.
been following this at all? Do you care at all this
Um,
kind of thing. I mean, we're just talking about Ezra Miller, the
Mhm.
deafening silence, and we see, how studios have axed actors left and right when they feel like it, one way or another, pick and
Mhm.
choose. Of course, it's their right to pick and choose, but
Right?
you know, we
I
have, yeah,
this is a very now, I'm gonna preface this. I've been following bits and pieces of the trial, right? I've read a couple of
Same.
articles. I haven't watched any of the videos. Of course, I daily dose of Depp and Amber Heard memes kind of flood the internet, and so you see those every once in a while. But um, this is a very pivotal trial, I think, on two big points. One is when you have um, high profile clients or people who get accused of something that immediate action is taken against them without any regard to the backstory, to the both sides of the stories, right? It's just immediate, boom, public opinion, court of public opinion, you're done, and you
Mhm.
burn all bridges, right? I think that can't happen anymore to anybody. I think if something happens to a high profile person, I think there needs to be okay, what actually happened here before any life ruining things happen.
Mhm.
Two, I think this really brings to light the idea that emotional, physical, and sexual abuse doesn't fall on gender and sexual orientation lines. This
Mm.
is
Mhm.
a issue where you have a man or multiple men who were abused by Amber Heard, and it's huge to have that getting as much televised, having a group of men who were abused,
Mhm.
as opposed to the other way around. That kind of seems to get more light. And I think that's huge, is to
Mhm.
show that this is a much bigger problem when you add in the other half of the population that gets abused by this or gets hurt by this. And I think it's going to help everybody who is in these types of situations, whatever your sexual orientation is, whatever your gender is, whatever. I think this is gonna be huge for that.
interesting. Andrea?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually gonna make that point as well. I think the abuse of men is such like you know a topic that people think is like it doesn't really happen. I don't really believe it. Like who would ever, people who do, it's like whoever would believe me because of course like it's so often heard the other way around. So if I even if I speak up, if I feel that it's happening to me, would anyone take me seriously? And the fact that someone this high profile is opening up and saying like, no, this happened to me and I'm willing to testify, I'm willing to let you into my life, to talk to everybody about this and have it be, so public, it's huge. um I have heard so much, and there is a lot on both sides to paint a picture of if not abuse by both parties, then certainly unhappiness and anger and acting out by both parties. I've seen some of, what's come to light in court through, videos, through documentation, through texts, through witnesses coming forward. I have no like clear this is the guilty party, but it does seem to suggest that on both sides there have been some acts of aggression. Um, but like I said, it is a really big moment for any men or people who identify as men who feel that they've been physically, emotionally, sexually abused. Um, this is like a great moment in the sense of there's representation, there's high profile attention being called to this issue, can hopefully make it an open and safe path for others to come forward to say, this happened to me, and have people believe them and feel that they could be believed.
And to have your life flayed open. I mean, that's
Hmm.
the other thing that people, I think kind of gets lost in the minutia of it all, right? Is when Depp takes that stand, you're getting an insight into his entire
Right.
personal life. And that's hard. I mean, that's one of the
Hmm.
reasons that, I don't use any form of social media, or if I have, it's very, very sparingly, is because my life is, it's like that's my personal thing. Like, I don't want people to know every aspect of everything I do. I mean, granted, obviously, at the beginning of the podcast, you got to see that if you did, it's very boring, but it's my boring.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been interesting, that's for sure. Um, like a couple things strike me from it. You guys bring up some interesting points. Um, it's it is shocking. We were just talking about Ezra Miller. It is shocking how the Hollywood lifestyle really messes people up. Now,
Hmm.
I don't know which way it necessarily is. If it's the Hollywood lifestyle and the sort of like icon status, if a lot of people, they become wealthy and then they experience that a guilt. Like, oh, I
Hmm.
have all this money, and other people don't have it. So they either, you know, they get real into policy that is like spread the wealth, or they donate a lot themselves or something like that, because it's like this feeling of guilt.
Hmm.
And especially when you're an actor and you're not like creating cures for things, and you're not like, it's ultimately you're entertaining. Like a lot of people get more out of movies than you might think, but ultimately you're entertaining. And so if you're raking in hundreds of millions of dollars, and your job is to pretend to be other people for other people's entertainment, I can see people being like, well, am I fulfilled in my purpose in life? Am I satisfied? And I would think a person could be, but to me, it suggests maybe it's not. Once you reach a certain threshold, it's like, boy, am I worth this much money? And so then it just drives a person nuts. I don't know if that's an element of it, but to me, it shows like between Ezra Miller and then what has transpired between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, these people really have problems. And I don't think it's a limited case situation here. I think it's a widespread issue, and I don't know. I
And
think
it's
Yeah.
that's
not unique. Like the situation with Ezra Miller getting in trouble, if that's substance abuse, if it's anger issues, if it's whatever it is that's causing him to lash out or have these situations. That's not unique to there are millions of people who have those situations, who have that problem, right? Depp and Amber, millions of couples have this type of situation. It's just we need this representation. We need this, like you were saying, is it's okay to get help, to see somebody, to talk to somebody, to admit that this is happening to you, because you don't need to live like that.
Hmm.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it it's hard not to wonder, I think, if this is, something unique to the celebrity experience. Because, we see things like these, you know, Hollywood star in trouble for pick any number of,
Yeah.
whatever, like abuse, alcohol, substance, partying, stealing, like anything. And it's hard not
Affairs.
to think that there's something about the Hollywood experience that, kind of intensifies everything and can sort of magnify any maybe underlying issues that a person already has. And then I stop and think perhaps that, but perhaps also, if we put a microscopic lens on any other group of people, we find these same things. If we put a microscope on, and to the level that we do with like Hollywood celebrities, to like CEOs, people who are just
Sure.
like independently wealthy, who have invested well, or like people who are up and coming and have just made their own money. A group of doctors, I don't know, like would
Yeah.
we find these same issues, especially because it's that is it the magnifying glass, or is it like the fact that these issues already exist in other groups of people, but we just hear about it because we're so hyper focused on this group of people? I don't
Sure.
know. It's probably a both and, but
Well, there's
it's hard not to like think that it's something that's unique to Hollywood when we hear about it so often coming from there.
well, my favorite was when they were filming Lord of the Rings, and Elijah Wood got in a lot of trouble because he got drunk and peed in the fountain on
Yeah.
Cuba Street. And I actually when I went there, I actually saw that fountain. I got a picture of it. Cool fountain.
Did you pee in
Um,
it?
no, I did not, but I
That's
did get
great.
really drunk and fall into it. Um,
Nice.
I will say this though, but like that came out and they're like, oh, Elijah Wood in trouble with Wellington
Right.
police because he got drunk and peed in this fountain, and I'm like, that is literally a slow Friday in frat row at the U of M. Like, like,
Absolutely.
do you know how many people I have seen at like 2 in the morning peeing into the pool at a rec center at the U of M? Like, come on, man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. No, I absolutely understand your points. That makes a lot of sense because, right, we focus on these people. They are celebrities. So
Right.
they're in the
We want to
news.
know, yeah,
The
we want
group
to
of
know every aspect of
doctors,
their lives,
yeah.
and every aspect of their lives can't be like perfect and rosy. Like
Hmm.
they're people.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're not. Yeah,
The
exactly.
the group of surgeons down the street that get together and like have heroin parties, or whatever, and lots of hookers we don't hear about because they're not celebrities,
That's
even though,
Mhm.
disgusting. Where, John? Where did this happen?
yeah,
Just so I know to like avoid that area. I
yeah,
just need to know where it is.
I will,
yeah.
I mean, I'll share a story. Like, I worked as a bartender, quite a while back, and, I, of a Friday night, noticed that I was serving a group of policemen getting drunk at a bar on a Friday, and then, they all got up and grabbed their keys and drove home absolutely smashed. Like, if they
Hmm.
were celebrities, would that have been, like, front page news? Like, they're a group of policemen who should know better.
You should have got all their badge numbers,
I
public
Were
should've.
they on
knowledge.
duty or off duty?
But I mean, it was to the level where I had to tell my manager, like, "I need to cut them off. I am very uncomfortable right now, but I need to cut them off. Like, I'm about to, like, overserve these people. Like, it's
Hmm.
this kind of, you know."
Yeah,
I
but
mean, if they were all celebrities, would that have been, like, front page news? Like, I don't know what they went off and did. I don't know if they all made it home safe. I
sure.
don't know if there was, like, incidents that occurred from this, whether, like, accidents or domestic disputes that may have happened because somebody was overserved. Well, not overserved, but, like, you know what I mean? Was
Hmm.
The potential to be overserved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, at that level of, like, this is how drunk I am.
Hmm.
I don't know what happened, but
And
if they were a celebrity, we could have maybe found out.
The access to the money definitely helps amplify things because it
Right.
puts you in different situations and gives
Right.
you more resources. I mean, per Depp's testimony, anyways, had a bottle thrown at him that severed the end of his finger, and then
I
he chose to
know.
like dip
That is
it in like paint and
insane.
stuff, and with mixture of blood and paint, write a bunch of things on like the walls and all the
Didn't
stuff.
hear about that. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
insane. I was just reading about that because I
So,
remember I caught up on like some of the things that they had accused each other of doing, but I clearly didn't know everything.
yeah, yeah. It's. I think that I have to say that one, I'm glad that this trial, unlike some others, is you're able to watch there and you can
Hmm.
just watch the whole thing. I think that I think that the only from what I've seen, the only real abuse, like in terms of something that would be considered criminal or extreme, has come from Amber Heard, but their relationship was clearly incredibly toxic and bad. The texts and stuff they've sent back into each other is insane. Like the ups and downs of their relationship is insane. The drug abuse by the pair of them is insane. And
What? Drug abuse
I
in
think,
What is
Hollywood?
this 420?
yeah,
Oh,
and I think that like you say, the trial's important. I think, from what I understand, that Depp doesn't have a great chance here necessarily because, um, one, when they divorced, there was a joint statement that was written by lawyers,
Hmm.
and both of them signed the joint statement. Now, Depp, the idea was that I wanted to sign the joint statement to make this be as
Over.
amicable as possible and move forward. Well, then the um, the piece written by Amber Heard comes out that is talking about their relationship and things that happened, and then continuing on to talk about abuse, though she did not specifically name him. So, in the joint statement that they had signed, it was listed that neither of them had done any lied about what they had done and like done anything wrong to
Hmm.
the other person, basically. So it's like really like kind of this, I'm Johnny Depp, I apologize, that's what it was. So I mean, that's like kind of a legal thing.
Hmm.
And so though Amber Heard has done all this crazy shit, literally shitting in the bed, um, she's being sued for one thing, for defamation based on
Hmm.
one thing she wrote. And I don't know if it's gonna hold up,
But
in
does it
that sense.
matter?
Yeah, I mean,
You know what
all
I
the
mean?
evidence is being aired, all that stuff.
That's
So, right, like, I mean,
that's kind of I think that's probably the point. Like even if Depp thinks or his team thinks he can't win, the point is getting this far and getting these issues heard.
sure,
She has a terrible last name for this.
yeah,
I keep saying that and then being like, I'm not like directly referencing Amber Heard. Um, but yeah, I mean that's kind of the point is to at least give Depp an arena to talk about this and
sure,
to maybe change the court of public opinion, even if the actual court doesn't decide in his favor.
sure.
you think they had a lot of fun at the deposition?
Oh.
Sorry, I just
I
wanted to
don't
be
think
heard.
there's a lot of fun being had, honestly. I don't think so. Yeah. Well,
Can we
thanks for
talk
your
about
input, guys, on that. Oh,
Can we
go
talk
ahead. You
about
got some more?
Netflix burning? I want to talk about
Well,
Netflix burning.
yeah, okay. So
Let's do.
Or unless we want to do we have any Moon Knight or Netflix?
no, no, no. We got to talk about I think maybe if we have time there's one other thing, but yeah, we got Netflix, and Andrew, you have a kind of
Yes.
follow-up article that talking about some of the actions here. So
Oh, I
Yes.
didn't.
um
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, no, no. Netflix has been the king of streaming for a long time. Made their transition from shipping you DVDs, which they still do, to digital streaming now, and they put a lot of programs out there that people are familiar with. But they have now, in the first time in many years, lost subscribers and a
Hmm.
fair substantial amount.
Yep.
So 200,000 subscribers down, and this is in a quarter that they expected to gain subscribers. So,
Hmm.
besides not meeting the expectation of increased customers, they actually didn't hit that and
Lost.
then lost a significant amount. And they're now projecting further losses in the following quarter.
Hmm. Yeah. So Netflix is like basically in like panic mode. They're doing two things to address it. They're one, starting to limit the number of households that can share a Netflix account. They're definitely like stopping it in certain countries, and I read that in the U.S. they're going to limit it to like two or something. Because
Okay.
I think they were like not bold enough to just like cut it out completely in the U.S., which I think is hilarious. Um, and then the second thing that they're doing is, this is the article that I found. They're seriously considering having ads in their programming. There are again certain shows that they said that they would not do it for, but for like other ones, like they were talking about, like Stranger Things was, number one on the list of like, we wouldn't interrupt this amazing programming, but really, I mean, like that's kind of the point, isn't it? Um, so because I mean, you'd want, if you're getting ads, you want them to be on things that are going to be seen. But
Sure.
whatever, I digress. The point is, they're seriously considering adding ads into the experience, which I cannot say enough how much I would hate,
I
hate,
would
hate,
I
hate.
would cancel. Well, okay, so there's two things. So from a business perspective, Netflix is a super interesting company because when
Hmm.
they came out, I mean, who was their biggest competitor when they came out? It was
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster, right?
Ah,
First of all, I love Blockbuster. I think now
love
is the
Blockbuster.
time for Blockbuster to resurrect itself.
Yes,
Yes, the walk-in and the smell of Blockbuster, the
yes.
popcorn mixed with the
The
plastic. Oh,
excitement of like
Elon's going to
racing to
buy
the wall to
Twitter.
see if they still had a
yes.
copy of the movie you wanted to rent.
Friday night.
Mm,
Oh, we're gonna go to
mm,
Blockbuster because your mom and your dad and I have a date night. Yes, yes,
yes,
yes. Um,
absolutely.
so they came out and it was great because when it was the DVDs, right? I mean, uh we didn't share a Netflix account when I was in college because when I was in college it was you just got the DVDs mailed to you.
Right.
So we had one guy on our dorm floor because you could get 3 DVDs mailed to you. I think with like the premium
Nice.
you get
Yep.
three.
Yep.
And so we would do a round robin where we would ask for a movie and they would give it to us and we'd watch it and we'd give it back. And it was like a daily thing. We would get movies
Nice.
sent back and forth. Um, but now the reason that Netflix got so popular, especially back in that days, you could get new releases really early. So you could get the new James Bond or you could get the new whatever, the new Mission Impossible movie or whatever it was, the big
Hmm.
ticket movie at the time, and you'd see it early before HBO picked it up, before
Hmm.
Showtime picked it up, Stars picked it up. Any of those where you had to have a cable subscription to watch them, you
Right.
could get them on Netflix. Well, fast forward 15 years, and here we are. We got CNN Plus. Oh wait, no, we don't. You have Disney Plus. Sorry, you have Disney Plus, you have Hulu Plus, you have HBO Max, you have Netflix, you
Peacock,
got
Paramount.
Peacock, Paramount Plus, Apple Plus. You have all these. So
All the
all the
pluses.
all the pluses, right? So you have all these movie studios coming out with their own friggin' streaming app. They have no incentive to give their stuff to Netflix. So
Right.
Yeah.
Netflix is now in a station where they're like, okay, we have one of two options. We have to double down and make really good stuff, right? Like we have to now actually pick and choose what we dip money into instead of throw
Right.
everything at everything and we just get a bunch of trash. Netflix
Right.
shows, we have to pick and choose because they're going to be our shows and we want to bring outside subscribers to
Mhm.
our app for those shows.
Right.
Or we now have to degrade ourselves with what Hulu was all the time,
Ugh,
which is why Hulu got away with it, is
don't.
put ads in. And
I
my
hate
my
it.
final thought on this is if you do that, fine. But you bring him in at a base price. You don't take what I'm paying now and
They
make that
did
the ad version.
Yeah, no, they did acknowledge that if they brought in ads, the subscription price would be lowered.
And that's
So, I
fine.
mean,
I just didn't
so
want them to take mine and jack it up.
right, exact well, I mean, they say that they were gonna, like, lower the price, but, I mean, obviously, they and, this is all hypothetical, so I don't really know what the case would be, but they did acknowledge in the article that they were like, if we bring ads to the experience, it is more affordable for like the average base user. So we could drop our prices and have it be more competitive, more reasonable, a la Hulu.
Mhm.
Speaking as somebody who has Hulu and
Right.
just like hates ad placement, I would hate this because Hulu always puts ads in like the worst spots. The worst. Somebody is like mid sentence and they're like
Yes.
popping up with an ad, and I'm like, what?
And the
Like,
killer is no.
like, uh, it's just awful. There are some shows that I'm really into on Hulu, but I could so lose that so much easier than Netflix because I hate those ads.
Well, and
I mean,
I
they also don't make as much quality content as I think Netflix does.
no.
I mean, Netflix does make some like special trash too, but they do make some good shows. A la
Well, and the
Stranger
household
Things.
thing is different, is unique too because I actually share a subscription with my parents.
Sure.
So, and my here's the funny part: my parents live back in Minnesota, but they travel across the country. Not only they travel around the world, but they have two. They have it's Minnesota and DC, and then
Sure.
I'm in Mississippi. So you have if they're gonna start pinging IP addresses, then they're gonna get
Yeah.
like all over the place. It's
Yeah.
like, well, how many people do you have
Share
on
with
this
like
account?
20 households.
Right? It's like, no, it's two. We just happen to move all the time.
Right.
So, um, it's interesting with that because the password thing. Do you feel like that's a reason for a loss of subscribers? Because that'd be a loss of view time if they're going to crack down. And
Yeah.
have they been doing this or are they going to do it? Because I guarantee you, no one's canceling Netflix because they're allegedly going to crack down on it.
Right.
If they
So
have been cracking down on it,
they've been testing
then
it out in other countries. They have rolled nothing out, I think, in the US or Canada. For
okay.
sure. I couldn't tell you about other countries.
So maybe
Um,
they'd lose some subscribers with their splitting the cost,
right.
as opposed to just borrowing, hey, you can, watch this too. Like they're splitting the cost and now they can't split the cost. So now we're going to cancel it.
Mhm.
But is this the hill you want to die on, John? Like, is this the hill
Mm.
Netflix wants to die on? We need
Mhm.
everybody to have their own subscription. That's where you're gonna draw your line. Really? All right.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I guess I would prefer it there rather than the ads, but I like neither of these. I think Netflix is
look,
just
if
like
something is,
panicking very early.
if the value proposition is there, then everybody should be willing to pay for their own account. You don't have to share it. Like, if the value proposition isn't there, then you feel the urge, the need to share it. So if it's like, well, $15, $18, $20 a month is not enough for me alone to watch this content that I need to share it with people and split the cost, then that says that their service is too expensive or the shows aren't good enough, you know.
Good point. It's a good
I
point.
mean, I don't try to share. I don't need to. I feel like, oh, I should share the cost of my Shonen Jump subscription that's $2.99 a month. You know, like
You have
get
a
your
ton of
own
jump, and
Shonen Jump
you
for
haven't
two
been
nine.
sharing your password with me.
No, it's $2.99 a month.
I
Cheapskate.
am so cheap.
So I I'm totally fine if they want to, like, hey, a household gets to share this. not for families in different countries. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
totally fine with that. But yeah, you can expect to lose a few people doing that. The other side is, like you said, Tony, there's all these different streaming services now. And a lot of the things that got a lot of watch hours on Netflix are gone. The Marvel shows are gone. Friends is gone. The
Office.
Office. Yep. These are like the titans of their, other than some of the things like Stranger Things or something like that, like that's, these are a big deal for them.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
we
what's
saw,
funny?
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, John. I didn't mean to cock over you there. I was gonna say what's funny with Stranger Things. You bring that up. I would actually rather pay like $30 to buy a season of Stranger
Mm.
Things, digital seasons, than to have 3 months of a Netflix subscription.
Yeah. I'm too, like, I'm ready to cancel Disney Plus. Like, I have it out of obligation for the podcast to watch Moon Knight, but I'm like ready to cancel it. But I know that I want to watch Daredevil at some point, and it's like, if I could just buy it, like, I'll give you my money
Right.
there. But that's what they don't want. They don't want me canceling their service, the continual monthly revenue, for the one-time hit of buying something
Right.
on Blu-ray. So,
Yeah,
or
Which
even
is the
digitally.
shitty part about, physical copies of things not really being made anymore.
Hmm.
You know? I mean, to access them, you have to like get streaming. But like what happens if that streaming service goes away? Like what happens to that content? I mean, is this going to be the model forever? Are these services going to be around forever? If they're not, then like why don't I get a chance to buy what I want?
Yeah. The sense of ownership on all forms of entertainment is definitely something that is quickly leaving.
Mhm.
And there's some holdouts like vinyl, the resurgence of vinyl
Right.
records. That's a kind of
hipster.
a kickback all of a sudden, like, hey, it's maybe someone wants to collect something and feel like they actually possess something that
Mhm.
can't be taken away from them. So, but in most forms of media, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to shift ever because, yeah, you're right. If Netflix just like really hits rock bottom, I mean, they'll probably sell off all their IP. They'll sell everything off and it will be available on some other service then.
But then I gotta go get that other service depending on how much I care about that IP.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
I don't wanna do that. I'd
No, I
rather
know.
I want it all back on Netflix. I want my 1 subscription instead of my 12 subscriptions.
Well,
Yeah.
you could, I don't know, like you could do it this way too. Is we all pitch in and like I'll do Netflix and Disney Plus, and then you guys get my password, and then Andrea does HBO Max and Amazon Prime, and then we get, so it's like we're all we get 12 streaming services, but we're only paying for 4.
Yes.
Oh my god. Go count your pennies somewhere, Tony. I just like
Oh, I'm penny counting with Tony. Absolutely.
See?
In.
Huh.
I mean, I definitely think this is a multifaceted thing. I'm surprised that it's so surprising to them, that
Mhm.
their estimations or projections were so far off. But it
Yeah.
seems like a correction here. I mean, how long do you think you're going to remain so far in the lead here with all these other services coming up?
Mhm.
I think ultimately it's only going to be better. We had the announcement that HBO Max has seen a big spike in subscribers. So
Mhm.
if a fair chunk of people maybe left Netflix and thought they'd give HBO Max a try,
It's actually really
um,
good.
yeah,
It's really good.
Mhm.
I have HBO Max, and that would be the
Samesies.
last one I would get rid of.
and it's going to get better because now it's together with Discovery Plus. Like
Mhm.
once that finally goes through, you're going to have Discovery Plus and HBO Max. It's like you've got
Happy day.
a real empire there now, uh, competing in the streaming service space.
Didn't HBO Max get something else too? I feel like I just
Um,
read about an acquisition they made.
I thought,
Hmm.
oh, it's gonna sound, it's HBO, aren't HBO Max, Hulu, Disney, ESPN, and Discovery all aren't they all? Doesn't Disney own all of that? No,
No, no,
no, no, no,
No.
no. CNN
no.
Plus, HBO Max, and Discovery.
Yeah, right.
That was what it was. It was those
Yes.
three.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, Disney has the everything Disney has, but then the part ownership of Hulu and then
Yep.
ESPN.
Yep.
Mhm. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there was some other acquisition that you were
Yeah.
talking about recently. It's this news story. HBO Max gained 3 million subscribers before splitting from AT&T.
Mm-hmm.
They have the
Um,
Big Bang Theory, John.
oh, yay. Look, I want to say I do. It's a good show. I don't have a problem with the show. I
It's good. And then you remove the laugh track. If you watch it without the laugh track, it is hard to watch because they time it for the laugh track, and it just makes the conversations so weird and awkward.
hmm,
But I
I didn't know
like
you
it.
could do that. I didn't know you
I
could do
love
that.
that show. Yeah. Well, you got to find it on YouTube. There's like
Oh,
they'll
okay,
put up
okay,
episodes without the laugh track, and
okay,
it's funny.
huh, okay. So yeah, that's Netflix, the king of streaming. Maybe not forever.
Like I
Maybe
said,
there's a repositioning in the market here.
No king rules forever, John.
Mhm.
I think they're just panicking a little too hard, a little too early. Like
I
I
mean,
get that like this wasn't a great quarter for you guys, but like maybe actually see what happens next quarter. And
true.
then maybe pick one lane and don't
It's
try
just
both.
this
Do you
has
know what I
like
mean? Like try one thing. Pick one thing and try it.
I mean, I
Don't like
agree that you
float
don't
this
need to
other stuff.
panic, but this is a remarkable event in the course of their history. I
It
I
mean,
get
is.
it.
both
I get
both
it.
Disney now and just stock value, Disney and Netflix stock value tanking, just absolutely tanking. And
Like
so,
Well, Disney's stock value is tanking because of other reasons
I was gonna
besides the streaming.
say, those two
right, right.
aren't tied together.
Just, I mean, the these are the streaming kings, though.
Yeah, no,
These are
I
the
get it.
two that are like at the top, and we're seeing a shift. And so, yeah,
But like also
don't
you
panic, but
yeah, I just think you can't expect to see like forever growth. Like who has ever been in the stock market been like, I always see profits with this one, you know what I mean? Like
Warren
there's
Buffett and the S&P 500.
I mean,
usually it slows, though, right? Growth is slowing, and then your stock value starts taking a hit. Not
sure,
like a nosedive, you
sure.
know.
Well, it's
But
So
not so much
I
that
mean,
you're stalling; it's that you're missing your projections. You're gonna tell they tell Wall Street one thing. Netflix is like, "Oh, bruh, we're gonna crush it,
yeah,
bruh," and then
correct.
they come
right.
back and they're like, "We
That's
didn't
what
crush it," and they're like,
But that's
stock
a
price takes it.
management of the stock value. If
Mhm.
you go ahead and you would under project sometimes so you can potentially outperform. Look,
never do that.
Never do that.
Yeah.
Never do that. No, that's it's so two-sided because you're right, John. You're like, "Oh, well, they'll underperform. What was it? Underpromise, overdeliver all the time."
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't. I mean, that's
Cuz then it
this
seems
is
like you don't have confidence.
right.
That's
well,
Right.
if
that's the
you're
danger
if
of the stock market in particular. It's
right.
not like you're reporting to a boss or a manager and you can just like under promise over deliver. You're like got to sell the confidence at the same time that you have to be like I don't know, realistic enough that if you don't hit your production projections like yeah, it's not a big crisis, but somebody could have just been like a little too like selling it and making up for and then now they're creating this market chaos.
I mean,
Mhm.
you have hedge funds. There was a hedge fund that just dumped their Netflix stock for a $400 million loss.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens here. I mean, your company comes in and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna hit here." You don't. Oh, your stock price is gonna take a hit if you underdeliver. It's people are gonna pull out early, and then all this. It's like it's tough.
PT Dubs, I just
Well,
checked the chat and Renato's in for password sharing, so we got our
It's the
third.
way of the
We don't even
future.
need John.
No, you're out. Rato's in. You're out, John.
That is fine. I don't want to give most of these companies my money anyways, so
Keep
they
your
can.
$3 cheap Crunchyroll.
Yeah. Hey, not Crunchyroll is like
Crunchyroll's decent, yeah.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if
Crunchyroll's
it's
like
7 or
5
8.
a month or yeah, 7. It's like
I
it's
think they
a
have like 3 different tiers too for Crunchyroll. Or they
okay.
did for a while. I don't know if they
Yeah,
still do.
now it's kind of restructured, but
Yeah.
I haven't looked in a long time. But the other thing that's it's significant with this because when was the last time any of you guys canceled one of your subscriptions?
Ooh, I don't know. We used to do that thing with HBO especially where you'd like threaten to
Yes.
cancel and they'd give it to
Yes.
you again and
Right,
yeah.
when you had to deal with the cable companies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I
Hey,
haven't
It
I haven't canceled
CenturyLink.
in a while.
that's why this is another reason that this is like a standout because you don't I think a lot of people don't cancel if they're not going somewhere else potentially, and the whole reason everybody wanted to go subscription model all the time was because of the customer retention.
Mhm.
You get people that subscribe to things all the time and then kind of forget about it, or it's a bother to go and cancel it. It's just it versus like signing that check every month. It
Mhm.
just happens. And yeah, so this is a conscious move by
Yeah.
200,000 people.
Yeah, see, and that's funny because I had to think. I don't think I've canceled. Oh, Amazon Prime. I canceled Amazon Prime, but I
Mm.
just used my dad's. Um,
Oh my god. See, doesn't even count. Doesn't even
no,
count.
no, that's the thing though. Like you and here's why. I won't like I won't
And we know why. Yeah.
cancel
Yeah.
Disney Plus. I'm too lazy, and every once in a while I like to watch a Pixar movie. And it's worth $10.
Mhm.
Yeah, with a kid growing up, I mean, Disney Plus is probably one of the last ones I would.
Yeah,
Um, I'm about 2 seconds away from canceling Hulu. I just can't
yeah,
with it.
I can't with Hulu.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know, we have the whole deal, the bundle, of
yeah.
Disney Plus and Hulu and
Oh,
ESPN
I was gonna
Plus.
do that. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, for Disney Plus, I love it, of course, and Chris and I both use ESPN Plus because we're, you know, fantasy football nerds. Um, but like even that doesn't feel worth it to just like have Hulu in there anymore.
Sure.
Do
I
you know what I mean?
bought
Like I'm just so like, ugh, like over it. Like I'd
I
love to
bought
kick it out.
I bought for the first time the NFL season ticket through that
Nice.
app. It was like it was like, I think it was and it I mean it was here's the thing is I will go to live games when I'm back home cuz my my family does the season tickets for the Vikings. And they've been season ticket holders for like 40 some years.
Nice.
Um and they just pass it on to the next person in the family.
That's awesome.
Um
That is so cool.
and I paid for it, and the funny part was is that you get all the games except the games that are blacked out because they're shown on cable. And I don't have cable, so I don't get to
Mm,
watch those games.
mean.
But I bought it because I wanted to watch the Vikings really
Sure.
badly, and they don't have it. They don't. You will never find a channel down here that has the
No,
Vikings
no, you
unless they're
wouldn't.
playing the Saints.
Yeah.
Um. So or the
Isn't
Falcons.
isn't it an odd isn't it so odd the contractual deals that sports works out everywhere?
Yes.
You
Oh, it's
know,
very weird.
I think
They
MLB just
clearly
did a thing
work,
with
but
Apple
it's
and
so
like
strange.
NFL has been doing the deal with Amazon or with Amazon. It's just
Mhm.
like yeah, all the rules, the local stuff when it feels very archaic, yet it's continuing. It's not something that seems like it's going to end.
Well, I gave my NFL ticket password to my dad because when he was in DC, he wants to watch the Vikings game, and we realized real quick, boy, did they crack down hard
Okay.
on password sharing because
Mm,
I turned like I was my dad was watching the Vikings in DC, and I came back from the gym and on like this was over fall, and I went in to watch the Vikings. I turned it on here, and my dad texts me and he's like, I just got booted off. Like
Meh.
they literally a screen comes up and says this account is being used in another area, and
Sure.
it like logs out the previous person. I'm like,
sure.
Sure.
wow,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
All
that
right.
one is too expensive to have too. So
Mm,
that's an expensive subscription.
yeah, it is. We've been on the verge, but haven't pulled that trigger yet.
It's worth it if you watch enough football. It is 100%
We
worth
do.
it.
We do. We
Yeah.
watch a lot of football.
It's worth it.
Well, football might be worth it. Is Marvel's latest worth it? We're gonna find out. Moon Knight,
Segue.
Moon Knight on Disney Plus, from Marvel, episodes 3 and 4. Renato, I know that thank you very much for being in chat. I know you haven't seen these yet, so I am sorry, but we will be getting spoilery about
Before we
Moon
get
Knight.
spoilery, can
Mhm.
I share some nerdy fun? I definitely was like getting dressed for tonight's show because I've been doing housework all day, not because I haven't been dressed all day. But I
Oh,
was
you
like,
just got everybody's hopes up. They're all like,
I
"Whoa,
know,
Andrew's
right?
been just in the nude all
Hey,
day."
what does Andrea do?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like putting on like actual decent clothes instead of my like paint covered, crappy
Mhm.
stuff. And I found my necklace that I got in Greece, but it's my name in Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Oh, cool.
And I was just like, blast from the past. Like I haven't seen this thing since like ninth grade when I went on this trip.
That's fun. That's really
So I
cool.
decided to put it on and wear it tonight. And I mean, I don't know for certain that it's my name in hieroglyphics. It could be anything because I don't read
It just says
hieroglyphics. I'm not
asshole.
Stephen
Just
Grant
like,
from this Moon Knight series, but
yeah.
pretend it says my name
I
and it
The
mean,
will.
soup.
Google
It's a
Translate it.
soup.
Yeah, Google Translate. Do they do hieroglyphics yet? I don't know.
They should, man. So
Mhm.
yeah, so it says my name, and then on the back, I think it has a blessing from Nefertiti.
Oh,
At least, again,
wow.
that's what I was told.
Right.
It
Yeah.
also says made in China.
It does. There it is. No.
Oh, I was like, oh my god, does it actually say that?
No, it doesn't.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, so
Well, very
I
cool.
decided to wear that, and we'll be obviously wearing it when we discuss the final episodes of Moon Knight. So I was like,
Perfect.
hey, why not? Perfect.
Yeah. Well, we are with episode 3. We're halfway through the series now, the mini series. We had you on last time, Tony, to talk about Moon Knight as well as it started. So, how is the series progressing for you as we enter the 3rd and 4th episode?
um, you know, I watched them back to back. Actually, I
Mhm.
watched them back to back today, not knowing that you were going to have me on the podcast. So it was actually a nice little surprise for me.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Because I was trying to catch up, and this is one of the rare occasions where I get to say "I told you so" to John, and I'm very excited about that.
Okay, yeah. I
Lay
mean,
it on him,
you're
Tony.
right. Rare occasion. You're right. I'm trying to think of when else that would be that you have told me that, but I'm interested. I'm intrigued.
Lay it on
I don't
him.
know where you're
Say it.
going.
The other time was the argument we had of John Deere over uh one of your other tractors that you like, and I said John Deere was the best, and it's just
Yeah, you're just trying to bother me again. That's not even remotely true.
uh,
Okay.
but
All right.
no, so we were I went into the one of the episodes. If we're gonna talk like in order, I guess in episode 3, it picked up like really quick. Like they really rushed into that episode. I
Mhm.
actually wrote down I was confused that I had somehow missed something. Like when they all of a sudden he's running across the rooftops and he jumps and he's
Mhm.
like, I was gonna talk to that guy, and I'm like, wait, were you, or are you just here? Like, what is going on? And so I like that they kind of had this like Jason Bourne type, Mission Impossible type running across the rooftop scenes, which I think is getting a little overdone in Hollywood now, but it's
Um,
got to have it.
now it
And
doesn't.
then
I
so
think
that
I think
was
we all can like generally agree on that statement.
yeah,
Like it's a little
overdone.
overdone. I was actually less disappointed in the running on the rooftops than I was in the following like he runs over a truck while somebody else is running in a street. And I'm like, that is not the quickest way to get to
Did,
somebody.
did
Like,
you a
why do
hundred
people
per?
run over vehicles? Don't do that.
Did you see where they swapped from what's is it Oscar Isaac? Is that the main
Yeah.
actor?
Mhm.
Where they swapped from his stunt double to him?
Yeah.
Oh,
It
really?
it was
Oh,
so
no.
obvious. Yeah,
Yeah.
I felt bad. It was right at the truck
Oh,
scene where all of a sudden he's like behind the truck, and then
Yeah.
Oscar Isaac runs up from behind
Yeah.
the truck.
The whole thing was, like, so unnecessary, and then, yeah, then we get, like, "Here's our stunt double. Here's Oscar Isaac getting up."
Yep.
oh man.
So I thought that was kind of
So,
cool. I
yeah.
did like that they had because the third episode, they kind of introduce the other gods. They're like, yep, nope,
Mhm.
there are other gods, and they
There's a
do
pantheon.
exist, and they have the avatar with the pantheons, and everyone kind of comes and speaks. And then what I was kind of hoping they would do more is I was hoping that the characters or the people that they chose to be their avatars would be like reflective of what that god would be like in 21st century, right? So you
Ooh.
had Osiris. They had the Osiris, who's obviously the god of the dead, but it was just like a normal guy. And I'm like, oh, I wish he was like an Undertaker. Like I wish it was just like a guy you could tell was an Undertaker. It would have been the
Sure.
avatar of Osiris.
I mean, I kind of feel like they did that, but, like, so lightly. Do
Yes,
you know what I
it
mean? Like, it
was.
was so lightly that it's almost not, but sort of. It's
Hmm.
very half-baked.
It
Like,
is.
I mean, because like, you talk about it, like, Osiris's avatar, was, like, dress up in a suit, sort of, maybe, kind of, you
Was that
know
Osiris or was that Horus?
was that Horus?
Because Horus is like, isn't he like the main?
It would be raw.
Well, yeah, but I don't think they mentioned Ra having
They
No.
his.
don't.
Yeah, I think
Which so
Ra is
it's
getting
kind of
revealed.
unclear whether, like, the Ennead, who I don't know, to me anyway. I mean, I felt like I studied Egyptian mythology, but I was sort of like, so it was like Ennead top tier or like second top tier? Like, are we just excluding Ra?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like I mean, their pantheon is mind-blowingly big.
Oh,
Exactly.
Um,
right.
so I kind of like that. Um, didn't wasn't really much of a trial as it was just oh, we just don't believe the I'm never gonna pronounce his name right. The Moon Knights.
Khonshu?
Khonshu, thank you,
Mhm.
Khonshu. We don't believe Khonshu because we just don't
We
like
just
him.
don't like them.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
everything he
It was
says is
such a
BS.
farce.
Yeah. And then I did read your notes, Andrea. I agree. Ethan Hawke crushing it. But my God, is his character? You just want to punch him in the
In
face
the
every time he
face!
talks.
My
Every
God!
time. Just so
Ugh.
condescending and so like, mm, mm,
Let me tell
I
you
know a
about
thing or two.
you.
Yeah.
Like,
I used to
ugh.
be Khonshu's avatar. You don't know. It's like, oh God,
He's
come
just so
on, man.
smug and blah. Like, yeah.
It's just, so I like that dialogue. What I really liked was that there was a point in this third episode where it was very switched from the first couple episodes where like you were following in Steven, so you would get these laps
Mhm.
in time from Steven's perspective. Well, all of a sudden Steven would be like, I don't where am I? Like I don't know how I got here. And you wouldn't be able to see Mark's part. And what I
Mhm.
really liked that they did in this episode is they switched that where you're following Mark and all of a sudden Mark has a lapse and then he comes
Mhm.
back and he's like, what just happened? And you're like,
Mhm.
ah, because then Steven took over, right? And you
Yep.
don't get to see that. So it's like you don't get to see the full part of it in certain areas. And I really like how they kind of switch that a little bit to kind of draw attention to who's now the main character that you're trying
Mhm.
to focus on.
Mhm. Yeah, I've always liked that, like, very just disorienting transition, because I imagine for somebody who does have multiple personalities, it is very disorienting. I can't imagine that it's just like some sort of like one than the other smooth thing. I'm sure that, not speaking as somebody who knows, but I would guess that it's not just this like easy thing that happens. I don't know what it would be like, but I can't imagine that it would just be like, sure, I'm one, now I'm two. So I've always liked that sort of off-putting, off-kilter sense that we get as we're kind of transitioning from Mark to Steven, or Steven to Mark.
Sure.
I like I think it's Layla. Is that
Mhm.
the
Yep. Mhm.
Layla?
Yep.
I think she's kind of playing this role of like she reminds me of a like Indiana Jones type character. Like she knows what she's doing. She's kind of got her feet under her. She's daughter to an archaeologist. She's knowledgeable. She can
I
kind of play this role.
love yeah, I love the whole scene where she's, like, creating the fake passport, and it's just so, like, routine, like, her and this chick, you know, I don't know who she is, but they have such great, like, rapport. I did not need to know her backstory to feel that they had a backstory, like,
Mhm.
everything about this was just so, like, "We've done this how many times together?" Like, "I'm handing you your glasses, you're handing me the paper," like, it's just this, like, easy back and forth. Was such like a light kind of fun moment to like watch them do that, and we got to like learn about her character at the same time. Like those are the kinds of things I like where we get to learn about a backstory and it doesn't feel like, to me anyway, it didn't feel like shoehorned in or like awkward exposition. It was just like fun, lighthearted break from all of this. Plus I got some info. Thank you.
Yep. The one part I think it fell apart. There was one scene or one kind of section of scenes where I was like, what are we doing here, guys? Is they're taking this boat ride, and you get a really good back and forth between Oscar, or I should say, Steven and Kayla or Layla, um, on this
I
boat.
think that might have been Mark.
I think it is Mark yet.
Oh, it is Mark. Yes, I'm sorry. It is. It's Mark. Steven is. Oh yeah, he comes in halfway through on the next
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, to
So
help
Yes,
with the
yes.
stuff.
to help with it. So
Help.
they're taking this boat ride. You get the really good back and forth where you kind of learn. You're trying to figure out, okay, what is this backstory that they have? Like what actually
Yeah.
happened here that they don't that he had to run off and like leave this marriage type of situation. And then you get to this dude who has this massive house that you get to on a with a boat, and then he's doing horse stuff with a museum that's outside where the museum pieces are in these glass
Domes, yeah.
pyramids. And I'm like, so he just comes up, he's like, "Hey, I want to see your like really old sarcophagus." He's like, "Yeah, dude, it's in this glass pyramid. Check it out." It's like, "What why do you just have this? Who are you? And why do I care?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a little contrived. I felt like there was like a pretense and a backstory that got really abandoned super quickly. Like, what was
Yeah.
the point of us being like, we need to get our story straight? You're my husband, like Fino Estrada or something, and
Yeah.
then they just like 2 seconds in, they were like, cool, let's just not even do that anymore. Like, what?
Mark, no. Oh wait, Felix, what? It's not my backstory.
Right? It was so like very like let's make an attempt at like spy-esque and have it unravel just like immediately and let's abandon that.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And then
Yeah.
oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
that whole like side journey was a bit like this is convenient.
Yeah, when you can say contrived, I see that. It reminds me of kind of a double A video game. They sort of wrote you need to get from one point to the next. Here's your next thing you got to examine for clues, and then have a
Right.
little mini boss fight. Um, I'm glad you guys said a bunch of positive things, so I could like say all the negative things. I wanted to like. There was one person from GameStop that, or not GameStop, GameSpot, um, Tamara, that said he describes these so far in the best way possible. Says 3 episodes into Moon Knight and it is aggressively okay. That is exactly this show. It is aggressively okay. I feel like cinematography is pretty not interesting. Action scenes are pretty not good. I really am. I don't know if they want me to like Moon Knight because I don't. None of the personalities. Marcus like just left his wife, didn't explain anything,
Mhm.
didn't, it's like I can't just tell you that Khonshu, wants you as a replacement, and I like don't want that for you because that would be terrible. And like have this discussion. Do you love each other or not? Steven is just a dork. He's such a dork. And then doing the whole thing where Layla's gonna fall for this sucker. Like I just who am I supposed to like in this show? Layla's the only one that seems competent. It's the only one that can do anything. It seems like they did a whole like big thing where rewinding the night sky, and that's what destroyed Khonshu using, like they're gonna seal him now. Someone brought up a really good point. There's like an iPhone app for that. Like you can point it at the sky and rewind this night sky thousands of years. So your deity here, real smart, right? Just like is now imprisoned in a little statue for all time because of this. And then all that, like, I'm not impressed by the other avatars for the Egyptian gods. They just let Ethan Hawke in there, and then they seal Khonshu, and they just let him hold on to the statue and stuff. It's like, who is this guy? Why are you letting him in here? Why are you believing him?
Because he's Amit's avatar.
But he doesn't actually. He's not actually though, is he?
Yeah, because that's what he's telling his followers in the dig site. He's like, I'm about to be called away, so just like chill for a sec. Don't stop digging. So like, and then they're explaining when they're in the Great Pyramid, they're like, well, when we convene like this, a way appears for every avatar. So I don't know if like Amit being sealed away is supposed to have an avatar, or if that's like a logic gap that the show just doesn't really address.
I think they're bringing him in because the charges are being called against him. If he was an avatar, they would speak to Amit. They don't.
But she's imprisoned.
Right, so how can he be the avatar? He's trying to release her.
But that's what I think is like the logic gap there.
Maybe, or the logic gap is that he used to be Khonshu's avatar. So he's aware
he can,
of this.
Yeah, he already knows. Yeah. I get it.
I think it's like, you've got Khonshu coming in here saying, hey, this person is about to do all this terrible stuff and release this goddess on
right,
the
but
world.
like really would they open that up to like any Joe off the street that Khonshu was
like... That's the problem. No, they wouldn't.
But that's what I'm saying is like there's too many logic gaps here of like why exactly this works. And I think it's a fault of the show that they do a lot of stuff because it works to get them to the next point.
Yeah, exactly.
Which like this whole trial was basically a way for Mark Steven to meet Hathor's avatar to tell them about the sarcophagus. So then they could go to the sarcophagus, which could tell them like the next, thing. But we already talked about like that was just like an awkward AF detour because that guy was just like this weird, like, I'm super rich, so I'm going to do like medieval horseplay and just like be shirtless in my yard as you come. And you know what I mean? Like,
with hundreds of people watching, I think.
Right.
It was like a festival or something going on in his backyard.
Super weird. It just reminded me of some sort of like medieval jousting tournament. But he's shirtless because why not? Because I'm showing off and I'm impressive right now. Come look at my glass pyramids. Yeah, so this show does a lot of things that don't very smoothly get you from A to B. So you sort of feel that, I think, as an audience member, where you feel like, why would this happen? Because watching the whole like trial and like Khonshu bringing his evidence, he doesn't even get to talk at all.
Right.
And Ethan Hawke just says like a few things that are like double talk, like, ooh, what if? Think about this. Like, did I really do X? And everybody's like, cool, yeah, obviously. It's the lamest double speak I've ever heard. And it just confuses them so easily that they're like, cool.
And why can't Khonshu just speak through Mark? Why does he have to do like the thing?
Well, he does.
He does speak through Mark.
Everybody, avatars can just like talk.
Well,
that's
I mean, maybe because
I
was gonna say like they've been avatars longer,
and they did say that, by the way.
They do. They give you that information so quickly.
They just let it happen. They let it in, and Mark's fighting it.
Yeah,
they're like, it's gonna be weird. Just let it happen.
Yeah,
and he's like, what?
It was awkward.
It was very awkward.
Just let him have his, let him speak here for a moment.
There
I don't
Right.
was
know.
a point in that episode though when I was watching it, and when I saw it, I was like, John's gonna hate that. And it was during the fight scene where Moon Knight comes out and he's doing all the cool Moon Knight stuff where he's like, "Pajah," and he's like throwing stuff and he's like, throwing the batarangs, because let's face it, they're batarangs. That's
Hmm.
not beat around the bush. And he's throwing these batarangs at people, and then like getting stabbed with the spears, and all of a sudden Steven takes over, and Steven's like, "No, I got this," and then he just gets a spear right in the chest, and he's like, "Mark, come back!" And then it like turns back into like the regular Moon Knight. I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
bet John's gonna just hate that.
This is a character that, like, admittedly, I don't know a lot about, but it's always put to me as like kind of the Batman, as sort of a Batman figure, and then they try to add some depth to him by giving him multiple personalities. So
Well, isn't this so I also don't know that much about Moon Knight, but I remember a bit from talking with Pete about it. Isn't this part of the comics? Like there is a section of his story where he does have multiple
yeah,
personalities.
yeah. So
Okay, all
that's
right. So this isn't like a pure invention of like this show.
no, no. So
Okay.
that's, I mean, like, so Moon Knight, always was like, um super wealthy guy that becomes Moon Knight and fights a bunch of monsters and stuff. Very Batman-esque, but then kind of try to reinvent him over time, and they went
Hmm.
with the multiple personality kind of thing.
Sure.
And so they decided to take that route for the show. But the show, the book being kind of like a Batman was not particularly silly. And I feel like this show, I was hoping it wouldn't be as silly. And based again on the first episode, I thought maybe it wasn't going to be. But
Hmm.
now with the bumbling idiot that is Steven,
Hmm.
we always have that again. I wrote in the comments, does Steven just want to die? Like, I
Hmm.
understand you don't want to be trapped, whatever, but would you rather just die, I guess? Because
Yeah.
constantly it's like, do something or give up to Mark. Okay.
Hmm.
Like, what are you doing here? Like, you don't
Yeah.
understand the risk you're in here and the situation? Do you actually care about this woman, or do you just gonna die here?
Right. When he was like, I bet I could do this. It's just like muscle memory. And I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, honey.
Not really how that works.
Whoa. That's so not how that works. Um, I wanna circle back around to a couple points that you made, John. Because I I did, after watching these two episodes, sort of feel like Disney, somebody, producers, who's ever like making Moon Knight. I don't really know, the exact production team. Apologies, but they sort of felt like they were half trying to make Layla the main character because I agree, she's like the person that seems competent. She's got interesting stories going on. I still don't know exactly who Mark and Steven are, and I
Mm,
don't have like a strong sense of them all the time. Whereas like I have a strong sense of like who Layla is. She's got interesting backstory coming out in these two episodes. Um so yeah, like
yep.
there's a focus on her in these two that almost seems towards like with the aim of accidentally making her the main character.
Yep. And I don't know that it's an accident. I mean, like, look, a lot of
And
these
yeah,
other
I don't know it
shows,
either.
they're trying to transition, like potentially with Hawkeye, they're trying to transition the
Sure.
Hawkeye thing to, uh, um, what's her name right now?
Haley Steinfeld?
Yeah, but
Oh yeah.
Katie,
Yeah.
uh,
Kate
Kate Bishop.
Bishop.
Yeah. Um,
This would be
but then,
interesting choice though, because like we're just getting Moon Knight and then
exactly.
transition.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people were upset that Kate Bishop got so much screen time in Hawkeye. But my thing with Hawkeye was that
He's
it's
had
a
some
but
screen time.
but yeah, it's potentially a transitioning thing. And Hawkeye is a mentor in this. Like, he
Mhm.
he is a mentor to lead Kate Bishop so she can hopefully be successful going forward in the future.
Well, it feels like he's
Moon
already done his mentor thing too. Like he was Natasha's mentor
Yeah, in a way to kinda like,
in a
with
way.
regular life and, like, being, "Hey, not you don't have to be an assassin," kinda thing. Yeah,
Right, right. Yeah,
a
no, I
tie
don't mean he
to the
like taught
real
her to
world.
fight or anything.
Yeah,
Like
right.
you know what I'm saying.
Yep. So in Moon Knight now, this is a brand new character though, and so yeah, there's no transition to happen. I feel like we should be interested in Moon Knight,
Right.
who he is, and be rooting for him and have him do cool things. And
Hmm.
instead, we're not most of the
Yeah.
time. Um, and even again, just the way it's shot, like Disney apparently isn't putting enough money into these things because we're getting the screenshot we showed just a second ago with Ethan Hawke standing in the desert. It just made me think of like, go watch Raiders of the Lost Ark or Lawrence of Arabia, like
Or The
in
Mummy with Brendan
or the
Fraser.
The
Mummy.
Mummy.
These things that with like feel
I want to get
grand
back to
and
the Mummy.
sweeping, and it- like someone knows what they're doing that's
Hmm.
behind the camera. And I think people are just getting so used to seeing this cookie cutter stuff that is just okay, and they're just
To be
accepting it. Like,
lazy.
go, yeah, and they go out and watch a real fucking movie and like see how it's done. And I just is I'm getting really bored, guys. I'm really
Sure.
bored. So
Um, I can get that. There is some cinematography that feels a bit like hit generic shot, close up face, cool background, rooftop running. Like
yeah, rooftop
I get
running.
it.
It's just
I get it.
To
Um,
me, oh, I'm sorry, Andrea.
no, it's okay. I wanted to bring up. I just wanted to go back to one of John's points. So if you got something to say about especially cinematography, go for
No,
it.
I was gonna say that there was a jarring moment because I remember I brought up last episode where Ethan Hawke was like walking through the village and there were people like, oh, and I'm like, that's not characters
Yeah,
reaching, that's extras
that's
trying to touch
Ethan
Ethan
Hawke.
Hawke. Yeah. And there was this moment in this episode where he has like the scarab and he goes, we found the tomb, and he turns and there's a random guy and they have this like bizarre super happy exchange where the guy is like he's like super excited and I'm like, who is this guy and why is Ethan Hawke spending so much time with him? It's just like super jarring.
Just really excited to touch Ethan
Just
Hawke.
this is, yeah, just an extra. Really excited for that 5 minutes where he gets to pretend to be really excited about something with Ethan Hawke.
what were you about to say before, Andrea?
So I was just gonna go back to the point that you made about Layla and the frustration you felt with her falling for Steven, as well as Mark. I on the screen, I am not in love with this idea. And she actually doesn't seem to be either after being like, "Oh, you smell like him," and like,
Mm-hmm.
This is
being sort
weird.
of into him. He kisses her and she's just like, "Whoa." Like all over her face is just like, this is so uncomfortable. Um, which made me think of like a really interesting point of like, I don't know how this would work. Like
Oh
for
yeah.
people who might, in real life or on
Mm-hmm.
screen or anything, this kind of just brings up like an interesting dilemma of like, how would it work if you were in love with somebody who has multiple personalities? Like, do you acknowledge that? Do you set rules? Do you set boundaries? Like, you know, don't talk to my other personalities. Like, if
Yeah.
you do, is that like some sort of betrayal? I mean, how do you negotiate like especially if you're like married to one, like how would you know all the time, if they've switched over to a new personality? Like, is it a betrayal if you kiss them? If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was so interesting. And I thought that moment was interesting because, she was so into it and she was so like, oh, you're just like him and oh, you're nerdy and, into archaeology. And that's something Mark and I didn't share. But then the second he kissed her, it was like, nope, 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 nope. This isn't the thing that I wanted.
Well, didn't she? Am I remembering wrong? Didn't she kiss him?
She leans in and then he like goes the rest of the way to do it.
90
Okay.
10.
See,
Thanks, Hitch.
I'm so glad you got that reference.
No, that reference was definitely used on me. by one of my
Anyway.
boyfriends. Like to see, oh, we should see if that whole 90-10 thing works. Um,
Go for the whole
so
100.
never go the whole 100. um, so yeah, so he does kiss her. I just also watched this episode like yesterday night, so I'm
And,
I'm
but
fresh on that.
I
So
read it
yeah,
as she was kind of giddy. She got kind of giddy from this.
There
her
was
her
a will
face,
they, won't they?
And then they went
yeah,
down in the pit, and then he says like, "Oh, that's beautiful" or something. She thinks he's talking about her, and then it's about this the tomb, you know.
yeah, but I think like intellectually, there's something for her about like you know the regard because Mark, she's felt abandoned by Mark, but like when they actually physically kissed, I did not get that read
Okay.
of this was, and which I think would make sense because I think there's a way that she could sort of like fool herself in talking to Steven
Yeah.
that Mark's still somehow present
Right.
part, you know, but like the physical kiss was like a sign of like that's
Oh,
not my
I'm reading it
experience.
differently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
hope they don't have it. My biggest
So it's
issue
just
with
interesting intellectually.
shows and movies that come out nowadays is that you don't have to have a romantic relationship or romantic interest or romantic anything between the characters. It doesn't need to exist
Hmm.
for it to be a good show, to have chemistry between these two characters. It doesn't need to be there. So don't force it. Don't make it weird.
Right. Well, and that's why I think like I would actually be okay if they did that and then it was just like nope.
It didn't
Like
work.
because I just said like they're obviously an amazing intellectual team and I'm
Mhm.
so on board with that and they seem on board with that. But like I'm kind of cool that like the kiss happened and if I'm reading it correctly and she was kind of, just like, oh, it's awkward, it's not what I expected. Great. Let's end that there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You don't have to have a romance. You know, don't force it if it's not there. But people, I think, generally going to want to write that because it's so satisfying. Like when you have when we go back to the Mummy, like it has all the important elements, that
Mhm.
you get from like Raiders of Lost Ark. It's the same thing. Like you have interesting lore, you build stakes, you have personal trauma and like
Mhm.
conflict between your two main people, you have a love story, and like all those things form a really satisfying thing for an audience member. So maybe it's not unexpected, it's not
Mhm.
original, but it's really satisfying. And so I don't fault anyone for making that having a love interest a lot, and having a relationship like that. Just you have to write the story for that so it makes sense with the characters. You
Mhm.
can't just like shoehorn it.
Has chat seen the Mummy?
Renato is not here right now
No.
because
Okay.
he's not seen Moon Knight yet. So
Oh, so that's. I was gonna
yeah.
tell him if he hadn't seen the Mummy, drop everything and go see it.
Oh,
But
it's so
I know
good.
you
So
just won't
good.
watch it.
Well, we should get into episode 4 yet here now too.
Yeah, I
You
figured it's
know,
too late.
yeah, we're moving into like the further
Yes.
into the tombs here, on the path. Andrea, I think you got some good comments. You're talking, speaking of the Mummy, right?
Yes, yes. So we get a little like mummy action in episode 4, and I dug it. It was creepy AF.
It
Like
was.
I gave like this episode really like gave me some hope. I know we've been talking about Disney like removing gore, removing violence, and like shying away from that kind of stuff. And then this episode kind of got into like a little twisty, creepy, like there was like jump scare monster, but also like they're in this tomb and they've got like a stone table which clearly it was used to perform like mummification and there's like fresh blood dripping off and like the canopic jars for all the internal organs, like dug it.
Mhm.
Like this whole vibe I was very happy with.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
And
that was
it was like mummy-esque but also like even creepier.
that was the I want the I told you so to John. Where I'm like, yeah, if they put that in there, they are definitely not shying away from Uh,
Sure.
we have to make everything happy, sunshine, unicorn farts.
Yes.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
very much appreciated this.
and from the first episode, like I say, we got, we got blood, so we saw that. We had some creepy moments with the lights going in the hallways and stuff like that. So it's not, that's the kind of thing that gave me hope in the first episode. It just has to be punctuated by so much silly as well. And I agree, like this scene was a lot better. Again, Layla's the only one that does anything. Steven is just an idiot, and just runs
But he
away. All
squished
the
it.
Yeah,
You squished
Squished
it.
it.
all I mean, literally all the cool stuff. She's hiding and then she runs. She has to like walk precariously across the thing, very Uncharted style, while things
Mhm.
are falling. And then the thing comes and grabs her and takes her away, but she like fights it off and and wins, it's like the whole
Yeah.
thing, So this is like Steven has nothing in this, He goes to the tomb and digs down the throat. Oh, it's funny, isn't it gross to like go down the throat of the mummy? Um, that's
He
it.
does. I mean, it's hard because I like I said in my notes, I half love this and half hate this. Like, I love that this bumbling dork is getting to live out his dream, like his Egyptian explorer archaeology dream. And he's clearly intellectually up to the task. I wish he was a little bit more capable. So if we're going with mummy references, he is Evie, but just less capable.
No, he's Jonathan.
What?
He's
Jonathan
a
was
little
super
smarter than
capable.
Jonathan.
Jonathan's not super capable. He was always getting in
Okay,
trouble.
in
Oh,
the
I'm sorry,
first
the brother,
yeah,
in-law.
Jonathan. In the first one, in
Okay.
the second one, he somehow is like snap crack rifle shot who can
That's true.
drop like a
That's right.
tiny mummy
He's a good
dude.
shot in the second one. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, he drops a tiny mummy dude at like 1,000 paces or
Yeah.
whatever.
Mm.
Um, but so, but yeah, so like I think he's less capable Evie. I mean, maybe Jonathan. He's just like one of those characters, but less than. Do you know what I mean? Like he's less capable than Evie is from the Mummy, but he's like a little bit smarter than Jonathan, but not as smart.
See, they
Not
could
as
have a
physically
trio
capable either.
here. They could have Mark is Rick O'Connell. You have Layla is Eve Evelyn from the second one
Where she is
because
also more capable.
right. She's got the archaeological knowledge and stuff like that, the history and all
And then
that.
she's
And
suddenly like possessed by
yeah, she
She
has
doesn't
her
have a
Egyptian
like
sexy
princess.
British accent.
yeah. And then you
Yeah,
have Jonathan, who's like the comedic bumbling relief. So he could be the
sure.
person that's like we're
All
experiencing
right.
the joy and wonder through or whatever. That's
I
why
get
that
you.
works.
I like your cast of characters better. You made a
We're
better
only seeing
analogy
that
than I
one
did.
person. So
I I don't know why. I was also taken aback on that scene where he's like, "We're in the tomb of Alexander the Great," and I'm like,
No, you're not.
"What? No,
yeah.
you're not."
Yeah.
Like, where is this
Chris
going?
was
And why is
also
this?
like commenting. He's like, "Cool." So you just like brought his tomb over from I think he said India is where it actually is. But yeah, Chris was not buying what the show was selling.
No. Well, for me, it was I didn't even know like 'cause I have no I'm gonna preface this, no historical knowledge
Sure.
of where how Alexander the Great died, where
N-
he died,
I
anything.
got nothing either.
And so when I showed that, I'm like, what shocked me, I'm like, You're gonna, really? That's who you're gonna go with? That's the big sarcasm. That's where they're hiding this idol of Emmett or
Yeah.
Amit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Couldn't pick something else. Couldn't pick like an actual burial chamber for Amit or something. Like,
Right. Couldn't pick any other like pharaoh, any other like less reaching
yeah.
like
I feel like you
using the fame name game to, be like,
And
"Look, it's Alexander the Great."
and they go in and it's like this super elaborate maze
That was
uh
cool.
of thing, and I was like, that's cool, right? But the one this actually this is not a critique of Moon Knight. This is like a critique of any movie that ever does this. How has nobody found that? Nobody.
Oh,
How
yeah,
has
sure.
nobody found this before? You don't think they've dropped like any type of echolocation or any type of like subsonic
Sure,
frequency
sure,
devices
sure.
to map that
Yeah, the
entire
satellite
freaking desert.
photography and stuff. Yeah.
Sure, I get you.
It's like in the movie Contact, right? And it's like they have one machine that they want to go and visit, and then it blows up, and they have another identical machine on another part of. No, this is like that destroys that. What was it? Disillusion for me. I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
all right, it's just a tomb in a rock somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like for Alexander the Great, that would need to be a build. Like you're looking for that now. You find out that for some
Mhm,
reason is where it would be, and so now you're on the hunt for that. Versus
mhm,
just like
That
you
would have been cool.
happen to enter a tomb and you happen to find out it's Alexander the Great.
mhm,
That's a little like that's a little weird.
The
mhm.
greatest archaeological find
Yeah,
of the 21st century, and you stumble upon it, and
Right,
nobody gives a crap.
right.
yeah. But yes, the kind of scary scene and stuff was cool.
Yes.
The other thing that again, me not knowing, me being very normie on Moon Knight, I did write down because I'm like, I heard that this Layla is completely made up for the show.
Oh, okay.
And I thought there must be someone like who hangs around Moon Knight. So I was looking it up as a normie does. And there's actually a character named Marlene Halloran. I should have pronounced
Okay.
the last name. She's basically Layla. She has an archaeological father
Mhm,
that like was there digging stuff up. She is a like very capable kind of spy person, archaeologist with like hand-to-hand combat skills and stuff like that. It's
mhm.
like, why wouldn't you just take this character? I didn't understand at all. Like, I
Sure.
I guess she's very blonde, you
Mhm,
know, but they'd have no issue just changing people around like that. So it was very weird to me how you just copy this character from the comics that
mhm,
is that sometimes love interest of Moon Knight in the comics as well, and just
mhm.
gets too like messed up by dealing with the multiple personalities. I mean, it's the character.
Interesting.
Again, it shows is no respect for the source. Like they just don't care. Like, why wouldn't you do this? Anyone that's read this line of comics would be like, this is
Mhm.
that character, clearly. Why didn't you just make her that and like stick a little more to what she is?
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm, like, totally reading this character's backstory now, and I'm, like, freaking out because she has ties to Morpheus. So, like,
Hmm.
there's a whole, like, interconnected thing that could be happening here. Do you know
Well, I
what I
don't think
mean?
anyone
Like, it could
wants
be,
to
like, a
connect to
whole
Morpheus right now. I don't
I
know.
know, I
Like,
know, I know, I know.
yeah. No, I mean it's very odd. Why invent a completely new character? Like that's the stuff that always bothers me the most in adaptations of comics or of Star Wars or something like that. It's like, why would you just invent a brand new character when you had a perfectly good one right there
Sure.
to use? I did,
Leaving my mark.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that was weird for me. Um I'm still really liking the music.
Mhm.
Music's good.
Um
I do like the music.
I do want to say that I think the ending of this episode was on a good track. We had some of the drama between Layla and talking to Ethan Hawke, and then like confronting Steven slash Mark about it some.
Well,
And
like, wrong place, wrong time, girl.
yes, exactly. You're so
Why does
she's a
everybody wanna
competent
have a
one, and now
conversation
you're
when
not going to
they're
get out of there. Yeah,
yeah, why does everybody have a conversation when they're, like, trapped somewhere? And he very legitimately is like, "Yeah, I would love to tell you about this, but we have to go." Like, he's not just giving you the brush off because, like, you're about to run into an ex-girlfriend and he wants to
yeah,
leave because awkward. You guys are about to die.
yeah. Yep.
Like,
They're
I don't
they're
know.
taking they're taking their own lives about as seriously as the showrunners are taking their show. That's what's going on there.
John's not
Uh,
bitter.
Not bitter at all. There's no bitterness. It's all coming from love.
Um,
aggressively okay.
aggressively okay. But seriously, like, I
Yeah.
was very irritated at this moment. Like, I am aware, I knew we were leading up to this conversation and that
Mhm.
Mark was going to either have, spoiler alert, killed her father or have been there when her father was killed. Like, he obviously knew exactly what happened and didn't want to tell her about it. And
Yep.
great, like, we needed to have this conversation. We did not need to have it right now.
Yep.
Not at all. Like, as a viewer, I shouldn't be sitting there going like, "Ah! Like,
Mhm.
stop!
Leave.
Like, please go." Like,
Yep.
even Steven was like, "I'm gonna give the body to Mark, like, shit's about to go down."
Mhm.
Even Steven, which sorry, I keep rhyming that, was, with all of his, "I've got muscle memory, I can do this," was just like, "Nope, nope, this is not the time and place for me. Mark's got it." And
No, he
Layla was
doesn't.
just like, "Let's
Yeah.
have a chat."
Mhm.
Nope.
So we get a cool scene then going into like his mind. We're in the like like a
Ah,
ward,
we can't skip over the fact that he gets shot in the chest.
Yeah, right?
Ethan
Gets,
Hawke.
yep,
Which
takes him down.
I'm gonna throw this out here. I'm glad that we got the ending of the episode to be kind of proof that there was more going on. I was actually gonna be pissed if they wrote this off as like the entire everything up to this point was in his mind and
Mm.
like he was actually in a psychiatric ward.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I'm like
I didn't buy that.
I was like that
Um,
I was gonna be so pissed. I mean, it was
Totally.
cool. It was a cool concept. When they birthed around it, I was like, okay, what are they gonna do with this, right? And I
Yeah.
thought it was kind of cool how they were kind of make it very Shutter Island, like they're trying to make you as the audience be like, whoa, wait,
What a
is
Right.
comparison.
is this what's going on here? I
Right. Where they
think
had, like,
when
a
they
drawing of, like, Khonshu, like, a patient was drawing, like, a Birdman, and then, like, "Oh, he has ankles restraints on his wheelchair," just like, he imagined them on his bed, like,
Yup,
totally, I am with you.
and the painting on the wall is the
Yep.
village that he was in Switzerland or in the Alps. Like,
And Dr. Stephen Grant is, like, a bumbling British archaeologist who's like, "Oh, never fear. We're
yep.
going in the heart of the jungle."
And it was
Sorry.
so then it was really cool how they did all that. But I would have
Yep.
been like 100% would have been pissed if they were just
Yeah.
like, "Yep," and it's all in his head and it's not a real thing. But I agree with John. The ending of the episode where they're
The
both
actual
running
literal final
together.
scene.
Yep, and they open the door and it's just a hippo lady, and she
Who
says,
talks
"Hi."
normally.
Yeah, "Hi," and then they
Yeah.
freak. I'm like, okay, well that was really jarring for the
Mhm.
end of the episode. It did not match.
Yeah.
I mean, that entire from when he gets shot up to that scene had a very unique feeling to it and
Yeah,
Mhm.
tempo,
I took
and
it more serious.
yeah, and then it hit it and it was
Crashed.
done, and I was like, wow, that was
Mhm.
bizarre.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, I actually really love that, like, Ethan Hawke shot him. So just to
Mhm.
rewind it to that moment just for a second, I love that, like, Mark was picking up his, like, golden axe and he's about to do some stuff, do some damage, and Ethan Hawke's like, "No, no, like, logic, I'm just gonna shoot you in the chest." I weirdly love that kind of stuff because it's just so real. It's just like half the time nobody ever thinks to like bring a gun to a fight. It's always like crazy weapons and we got to fight to the death and somebody gets stabbed and whatnot. I love that Ethan Hawke was just like, "No, I'm going to shoot you now. Bye."
Yep.
I love the transition of like falling backwards and then I was like, "Cool, awesome. We're going to get something here. I don't know what it is." Did not expect he's locked up in a mental institution angle. Was totally buying it, like, "This is really interesting." I don't know where they're going with this. They're making it very real, and then suddenly it wasn't real
Yep.
because no real institution would have, like, Egyptian, like statuary and, like, canopic jars in the psychiatrist's office. There was too much, like, weird stuff, like, everything was
Everything was
decorated really
white.
weird. Everything was white. Yeah, I was just like, "Okay, so this also isn't real. Interesting." And then it was cool, like, I knew the second that Mark opened up that door and, like, there was somebody locked in the sarcophagus, I was like, "That's gonna be Steven!" They're gonna meet, and it's gonna be crazy. And it was awesome. And then you're right, the whole thing was just like ballooning up into something that felt like significant and interesting. And then Hippo Lady walked in and just pop.
Yep.
What is this?
Yep.
Why
End on a
why does she
joke.
look like that? Yeah, why does she look like this? Why is she talking normally? At least like give her like a boomy, thundery, like I'm a god voice. Then I would have been
Right.
like,
Or
okay.
just not have her say anything. Just literally
Yeah,
just
or not
open
say
the door and have
anything.
it stand there, and they just scream because there's a giant hippo with a headdress standing there.
Or like don't even scream. Because that was very like I don't know,
Mhm.
like, silly horror movie tropey kind of thing. Like I could have just left it at like open the door, hippo lady, bam.
Mhm. Well, and more serious shows will have something like, often when they're representing a deity or god, it's going to be like more as a sign or a symbol. It's not
Sure.
exactly like bam, there's hippo person. It's
Right.
different Egyptian gods that are, they think they're represented by a baboon or an like a bird of some kind or whatever. You could show that bird somewhere, and it's like with the connection, you do it subtly, like, oh, that's that deity. It's sending a message or whatever. But not just like, hey, here's humanoid animal person.
Mhm.
It doesn't always work if you're trying going for like a serious tone. So you have to be more, I
Mhm.
don't know, nuanced about it.
Yeah. I feel like this episode could have ended in several different fashions that would have been better than the way that it did.
Yeah.
Could have opened a door and not seen what was there, and then Hippo Lady starts the next episode. Hippo Lady doesn't talk, or Hippo Lady has booming God voice because she is one,
Hmm.
as
Yeah.
Alan pointed out in our message thread.
Or we deal with a an avatar of hippo god.
Yeah.
So we do something impressive like to represent that this goddess here or whatever, and then it's like we deal with into the human avatar.
Mhm.
And those guys could be cooler too. Like none of the avatars seemed threatening, back to that meeting or whatever with them. And
Mhm.
they never seemed impressive. And these are Egyptian gods. They were
Right.
of the pantheons of gods, like these are some of the cool ones. They're pretty neat.
The not
And
lame ones.
yeah,
Well,
not
and
lame
we don't
ones.
really get to see them.
No.
That's the problem, like, with that whole, like, trial, quote, unquote. We get to see them for, like, all of 5 seconds before Arthur Harrow comes in and is, like, doing his double talk thing, and they're all like, "Cool, bye." And then we
Well,
see them trapping Khonshu, which they're already, like, again, ready at a moment's notice to just do that the second he does something. Like, I thought
mm,
they all dispersed back to their crazy places. Suddenly, they're just like, "Oh, here we all are again."
yeah.
Sorry, my weird,
Or
like, logistical side note that I was like, "What?"
and I wouldn't trust them honestly to show all these other gods in the coolest way, you
Mhm.
know? Like
What were
I
all the
just
other gods that were trapped away? Because of course he walks in and he's like, walking with the little
yeah, whereas
Khonshu,
Anubis,
Shakti, yeah.
and he puts it in like the candlelit box or candlelit alcove where all of a sudden they pan back and there's like seven other.
I kinda dug that.
I was like, who are
I
these
mean,
other?
I
What's going on here?
right, I wanna know who all these other people are, but I kinda dug the, like, this is our prison wall vibe. Could've been a
Mhm.
little creepier, but I like the idea of it.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Well, Alan's sharing some different shots from comics and things here.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
More of
know
our
if I love some
Ennead.
of that art. Yeah, it's something. Well, any final thoughts on Moon Knight? We only have 2 episodes left now.
I know, things are progressing quickly, which I appreciate
Yeah.
because I know I talked about in our first 2 in our review of the first 2, I was like, "There's, like, no time to do stuff, like, get moving." So
Mhm.
they are moving, which is good. I just don't know now at the end of this episode what they're moving to.
Yeah.
Well, they got
Yeah.
2 hours. Remember, these are hour-long episodes, so they got 2 hours to do something with. That's
Yep.
the length of a feature film.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know, but also like they have 2 hours and there's like lots of stuff to just
They have
tie
2 hours
up.
to make me like Moon Knight and care at all. Uh,
John, if
Maybe
they
the
didn't do it
point
in the
isn't
first
though.
4,
Remember you said maybe they're deliberately making us like Layla. So maybe the point is you like her more.
so the first introduction of Moon Knight into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we are just gonna get rid of Moon Knight right away because
Yep.
he sucks.
Oscar Isaac's like, guys, I'm in for this and then I'm out.
Yeah, then
So
I'm out. Yep.
hey,
Mhm.
I'm
they
not
introduced
signing
the
one of your
Eternals.
12-year deals. F that.
They did the same thing with the Eternals. They introduced the Eternals, and I hate all of them. And they aren't going to make another Eternals movie.
Oh, I haven't seen Eternals. Don't spoil Eternals for me. I mean,
Oh, spoiler alert! It's bad.
I can take that general feedback, but yeah, no, I definitely do want to see Eternals. Just
Well, I mean, it's worth watching once,
and
but
I
it's
feel like I need
definitely
to see it to see it. Do you know what I mean? Like
you do.
I need to just have watched it.
Yeah, it's you will get the sense of why do I care about any of these characters?
Okay.
Kind of like how
That's too
John
bad because I
feels
like
all the
a lot of
time.
the actors that are in it.
The actors are phenomenal. I mean, they're
Mm.
all great actors. That's what's so weird about it. I'm like, why does this movie feel so weird? You know what it is? The best way I can describe it is
Okay.
there are parts of that movie that are definitely missing that got cut on the editing room
Mm,
floor that should not have been cut
sure.
because I feel like there is story being told that we didn't see.
Sure. Maybe we need to do a release the Snyder cut on Eternals.
I was gonna say that to John. What they're gonna the Flash is they're gonna have to nix the Flash or redo the Flash, and then 5 years from now they're gonna have the Snyder cut, the Flash.
Oh my god. I mean, I wouldn't put it past. Anything's possible.
Yep.
There you go.
Anything's possible. What a note to end it on.
Anything's
Anything is
possible?
possible,
Look at
guys.
that. Look
Yeah,
at us turning
anything.
around. Be positive.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you both for joining me here. This has been
Mhm.
Popcast on the Rocks, episode 104. All kinds of news stories and discussing Moon Knight episodes 3 and 4. You should follow us on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all those places. Please leave comments and like and subscribe and share it with people, all those things. If you listen on podcast directories, whichever your one is of choice, please leave a review. Trying to occasionally create a poll for the Spotify one. You can create polls and questions and stuff. So if you listen on there and watch the video on there, you can interact with us that way. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts, whatever works for you. Thank you to Killing the Flower for our theme song. You should check them out on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. And yeah, we'll be back next week. Tony, thank you again for joining us. Hopefully, you'll help us break our episode or our view count once again. Yeah,
No pressure.
right.
Don't oversell it like a Netflix stock guy, John.
Yeah,
No,
right. Yeah.
because we want people to look back and say, episode 103 is where they really, once they got that Tony on there. I mean, the view counts.
102. I think it was 102 you're on.
Was
Yeah.
it
So
102? Oh, that's
I
right.
think
Yeah,
so.
102.
I think so. So, yeah. Anyways, all right. That'll do it from us. And of course, Andrea, thank you as always for joining me once again.
Of course. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.